find the theme song, and when I tried to substitute it, now he's having a hissy fit.
Tends to happen.
Yeah. This is our incredibly charming new board op. Introduce yourself, Jimmy Olsen.
You call me Half or Rich Uffinger. I'm just a video guy and all-around tech guy for Bernard, filling in for you guys.
This is Bernard's major domo.
All right.
Solves every problem that Bernard puts to him.
We have an engineer to save the show.
We do.
To start the show.
And by the way, we're going to have Canadians on today. We got
Canadians, eh?
Yeah, we got Peter and Rita of the Pete and Reed Show out of Canada. Played charming Canadians.
Have you ever been to Canada?
Hell yeah, I grew up in Detroit. It was like a nation of gizmos.
So all you had to do was go across your pond right there.
Yep, and it was the only place you could get salt and vinegar chips.
Oh, well, okay. How long does it take to cross, let's say you're in Detroit, to cross Lake Erie or the other lake? What are all the Great Lakes now?
Well, there are a bunch of Great Lakes.
Now, which ones are the fastest ones to travel to get across?
But see, Jeff, this is the problem people have.
Yeah?
You think of it as a lake. And the Great Lakes are like inland oceans.
Yep.
You've heard the song, The Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald, right?
Yeah.
That ship was totally destroyed. They weren't. It was hauling 27 tons of ore. People think the lake is like a lake here where you go fishing and stuff. It's not.
It's an ocean.
It's an inland ocean. I mean, the waves can be choppy. We've had family friends die in the Great Lakes.
Wow.
A family friend, his plane conked out and he drowned in Lake Superior.
So you're telling me that you're on the coast, anywhere along the coast of Michigan, the Mitten,
Right.
and you cannot see land from on the other side of the lake.
Correct.
That's how far it is.
It's huge. People don't realize that.
So it's would it be like from here to Catalina Island?
No. A lot worse than that. More choppy and
So you're talking more than it's like 20 miles or more.
or more.
Wow.
You know, the Great Lakes are huge.
So you're not going to see.
If you go down or get lost in the water, you can't see the other side. This is not like a local like Lake Paris or something. This is honest to God an inland ocean. I mean, the fact that the famous Canadian Gordon Lightfoot song, The Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald, he's singing about a boat that was no survivors. Everyone was killed. You know? And I mean, that's a common thing on the Great Lakes.
So let's say, let's go over across the border to get a Moosehead beer, eh?
Yeah, well,
how long would that take you to get across?
Well, you wouldn't be rowing because you have to go through the checkpoints.
Oh.
And when you go to Canada, you drive under one of the Great Lakes. You surface in Canada or you go across the bridges and they check you out. They make sure you're not bringing back any contraband. When I was little, I remember a lot of the teenagers and stuff would go over there for the strip clubs. Canadian strip clubs are like $5 a dance and all this.
All right.
So they're very popular with the lowlifes in Michigan.
So what about the Canadian dollar? You know, once in a while I'll get change back. Hey, I got a Canadian dime.
It's a loonie. They call them loonies.
Yeah, I'm sure that's happened to you a dozen times.
We had cousins of ours who lived in Michigan. I mean, we lived in Michigan. We'd hang out with our cousins in Canada. And we would make fun of their money because it looked like Monopoly money. And their money had the Queen on it and all this. And so you'd goof on your friends, you'd goof on your relatives and their goofy looking money. You know, it's always the Queen.
So you'd get a Canadian dime or a Buffalo nickel. You'd want that Buffalo nickel over the Canadian dime.
Oh, easily. Canadian money looks fake to me.
It does.
You know? And what would be weird is if you bought like a comic book or bubblegum cards. In Canada, it would like a Superman card or something. It would say in English, Superman's father, Pa Kent. And underneath it would be French Canadian.
Sacre bleu!
Yeah, exactly. You know, the Canadians are very serious. There's a ridiculous group of Canadians in Quebec where they voted to speak Quebecois, where they speak French Canadian, and they demanded all the streets have French names just to be a-holes. Wow. The rest of Canada doesn't like them. They find them pretentious. but instead of like this street or that street, it's Rue de Quebec, and they all have French names. It's incredibly preposterous and pretentious, as we'll ask our guests.
So what part? Okay.
Hold on. We have to ask Richard. Richard, have you seen the Endgame yet?
No, but you go. I already read the spoilers, so you go ahead.
I haven't read any spoilers.
Oh,
I'm seeing it tonight.
You are.
What about those guys that were giving out spoilers in front of the guy that got beat up? Remember that?
I don't blame them.
I'm glad. I mean,
I'm glad you get roughed up. You don't tell that why people are waiting in line.
Any a-hole who shouts out the ending. I mean, people waited a year for this movie.
Yeah.
And it's not like another crap Star Wars sequel. This is a real movie.
It's like I haven't really had time to see it, but like, okay, I can go see a movie theaters with the spoilers. I saw. I'm like, okay, I'm glad I know now, but I ain't saying it to anybody because I'm not gonna get socked in the face.
First of all, I just think it's a dirty trick. I mean, it took him so long to make the movie, and some lout is going to shout out the ending.
Well, people be assholes like that. So
it just seems dirty to me.
I look at all the action figures in the toy section, of course,
look great,
like I always do, and they all got that protective armor, the Avenger. Even Hulk's got that armor.
Yeah.
First of all, it makes no sense to put Hulk in armor. He's friggin' bulletproof.
But Thanos proof?
Yeah.
I don't know. There's a reason for it. I don't know why. I'll find out. But I really love the Hulk action figure in the armor, and it's got the likeness.
It's a great skull. It's
got the great likeness of
Mark Ruffalo.
Mark Ruffalo, yeah.
Or Bruce Banner, if you're in the moment.
It's the Bruce Banner. You could just like a Hulk-defied Bruce Banner, and I like that. I think that's a good idea.
I couldn't sleep last night. I watched Infinity War on Netflix. It's a great movie.
Yeah.
I was at happy hour at Rodrigo's yesterday after work, and they
Were
were
with
playing
you- with the you know
Hulk.
who?
They were playing the other Hulk with the.
Edward Norton. It was on Sci-Fi yesterday.
It's the one where he turned out, Abomination. He was fighting Abomination, and I go, that's a different Hulk, a total different Hulk face.
Edward Norton shows up at the end. I mean, Robert Downey's Tony Stark shows up at the ending. It was his first appearance outside of Iron Man as Tony Stark. Remember, he says, "General, I heard you have a problem."
Oh yes, I remember that trailer. Now, do they do that? Do they do that in Endgame? Wait for the trailers and another?
I don't think there is any.
No button on Endgame, as they call them. No buttons.
At least I've heard. Yeah.
That's what you call that, right? You got to wait for the trailer, after the credits, and you always stay for that. See what's going to happen next, right?
Yeah.
Your little Easter egg.
But except for Endgames, they didn't do that. I guess we're waiting for Far From Home, and then they're gonna give us a clue where we're going.
Right.
Steve Joyner, representative. Hello, Steve Joyner, representative. What, Steve?
Did they make it?
They're not here yet. No.
We're vamping. You're on the air.
We're vamping. You're on the air. We're on the air with Steve Joyner,
Steve Joyner.
the fifth Beatle.
Did you see Endgame?
Hold on, let me get my earbuds. Talk about yourself.
This is what we in the biz call compelling radio, people. Just let me know when it starts being compelling.
Okay, I'm there. Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, loud and clear, Steve.
Well, loud anyway.
Live on the air. It's May Day, the Russian New Year.
Oh, well, congratulations, commie.
Oh, no.
In this country, we usually throw a fist in the face of the first socialist.
No. I'm not a commie. I just eat your lentil or whatever the hell it is for good luck. But no, you asked me if I saw Endgame.
Yeah.
I saw it 3 years ago when I got married.
Oh. You heard it here first. Steve Joyner has slept with Thanos.
No, I have not seen it, but let me guess, Patrick, you and Don were there opening night.
No, I wanted to be, but I wasn't. I have not seen. I'm seeing it tonight with Donald.
We're just talking about the action figures with the Avengers Thanos-proof armor or whatever it is. So as far as I didn't get past the action figures over at Target.
You know what? I wish that I could go back in time and, with $1,000 and go to a toy store or a KB or some just one of the great toy stores, Toys R Us, and buy just a ton of shit and take it home. To the future. Wouldn't that be great?
Oh yeah, and to have all that stuff that we used to have.
Listen, if you time traveled to 1977 and bought all the Star Wars action figures, you know how much money you would have?
Oh yeah.
Selling them mint?
Well, no, hold on there, Patrick. You should know this. You'd have to wait till 78 because they didn't even release.
Very good. They missed Christmas. You're exactly right.
Yeah. You just got the cardboard, crappy early bird thing, like saying, "Hey, this is what you will get in a few months." But this, but I was thinking no, even more than that. Going to get like the old Mego play sets. My God, man, they had such cool things. I watched a documentary on Mego recently.
Oh, is that on the Toys? Wait. The
Toys That Made Us.
Toys That Made Us haven't done Mego yet, though. They did Star Trek,
and they did Kenner. The alien, if you have a Kenner alien, those things are mint in the box. You got some bank right there. That's, and I used to find those at yard sales and swap meets, and I would buy them up, and of course I don't have any of them now.
Well, no, we didn't think about that back in the day.
No.
It was like, you buy it and you take it out of the package, and then it's whatever. But man, I wonder who had the foresight, because I actually was. When I was watching about Mego, I'm looking at the Star Trek bridge set and all this cool stuff. I'm thinking, is there actually a full mint one that no one ever opened out there?
Yes, there is. You'll still see them at toy shows. Oh my God, we got two strangers that walked in the studio,
Our
Steve.
guests have arrived, Steve.
Did they make it?
Yeah, they're here.
Good Lord. The Canadian stars.
Well, we're just talking about good things about Canada. Hey, were we, Patrick?
We were.
Wink, wink.
Yeah. We love hockey.
Step in, Canadians.
Our guests are here.
Truthfully, you're gonna hug
Okay,
me.
so they're officially 22
All right, let's get a breather here.
their name on the chalkboard. So.
The ugly fellow with
Peter and Rita are in the studio.
Listen to the drink.
All right.
Water would be good.
Water? How about you, sir?
I'll let you go, Patrick.
Okay, take
Okay,
care.
Steve. Say goodbye to Steve, Rita and Pete.
Bye, Steve.
Steve.
All right, you guys have a good show. All right, take care. Bye.
Thank you.
Welcome to the Jeff and Janki Show. Welcome to Montclair, California.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here, I'll tell you.
Kind of messed up trying to get in here. Pull a Yui.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like what the heck?
it's almost when you get off the off ramp right there, you just go straight, bam, into the parking lot.
Yeah,
We
Yeah.
have a beautiful fire going on over there as well. Did you see
Oh
that?
yeah,
Is
we
that
have the recycling. It's been burning since yesterday, and it's still burning. Black smoke at a recycling plant.
Kind of
Nice.
charming.
Nice.
Winners for awards,
Yeah,
I'm sure.
I'm very suspicious about it now.
You
just-
said it, right?
Yeah, of course. I just have to make sure neither of you are filthy, worm-eating separatists.
Oh, I am. No.
How dare you, sir? Get your Quebecois speaking ass out of this studio.
Before you came here, we were talking about Canadian coin and currencies, and him living in Michigan and going across to Canada.
Honorary Canadian, which means the CBC used to run nudity.
That's why you were over there.
Yeah, exactly.
I have to ask, were you guys Friendly Giant or were you Mr. Dress-Up People?
I believe you know that.
Friendly Giant.
Damn right.
The little rocking chair. Come on. Who didn't love the
He
little
sent
rocking
you a
chair?
GD chair. What did
Yeah.
Mr. Dress-Up do for
Right?
you?
And
And
and the little rooster guy. Come on.
it used to bother me, though. The giraffe would lean in the window.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I didn't realize I was so little. It was the big children's show. It was
Yeah.
this tough old drunk who just turned like 100.
Yeah.
Friendly Giant, yeah.
Yeah.
And there'd be a kid, because it was a puppet, there'd be a giraffe would lean in the window and
Yeah.
chat
Right.
with.
Yeah.
But it bothered me.
That was a puppet?
No, because they suck.
They do suck.
There you go.
Canadian movies, and I grew up, again, we would watch everything in Canada was sort of a knockoff on American stuff. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
And I don't know what it was about 70s and 80s Canadian movies. You guys were big on funeral scenes. I don't know why. There was always a sad.
I don't know this.
Somebody had to die.
Yes.
Come on.
But there'd be a
Canada.
there'd be a big funeral in these beautiful Canadian cemeteries. You'd have the entire cast there.
Right.
And there'd always be a fat guy with a banjo who'd start playing. Remember, he'd sing a sad song in honor of whoever died.
I don't remember any. Seriously, I was born and raised in Niagara Falls.
Wow.
Niagara Falls! Slowly I turn, step by step, inch by inch.
So we watch Buffalo TV.
Wow.
Yeah. We never watched CBC.
Oh.
Ever.
Wow.
Yeah, it was on
Yeah,
Canadian.
you avoided Canadian programming.
Now, what province was that? Where were...
Ontario.
Before it was Nova Scotia, it was Ontario.
Before it was Nova Scotia.
But I mean, you had there was a great guy named he used to host a movie show. Elway Yost. You guys remember Elway Yost?
Yeah.
No.
Elway Yost got really.
I think we're pretty un-Canadian, right?
But he would show like the original thought, and he goes, "You can tell by the grain of wood at the table Vincent Price is sitting on." That's Canadian wood.
Yeah, it's a maple tree. Come on.
And Elway,
I don't know what he was sitting on. But.
and Elway Yost's son went on to write Speed and Broken Arrow.
Wow.
You know,
That's pretty talented.
isn't it? You know what I mean?
Now, here's a secret, though. I mean, the reason Canadian television and movies weren't that good is because all the Canadians were coming down here.
Aha!
But you're also
Like
forgetting
Bill Shatner, right?
another reason they weren't that good, quite honestly, is the Canadian government was putting money into them.
They still do.
So
The CBC, yeah.
But remember, they would get mad. Anything that made money but was a little bit lurid. I mean, they almost chased Ivan Reitman out of the country when he made Cannibal Girls.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yep.
And they financed, the Canadian government helped finance Rabbit with porn star Marilyn Chambers as the.
Yeah.
I remember that one.
A great David Cronenberg
It looks like
movie.
you're
On
hungry.
VHS, I had
Now,
that.
have you guys ever on your show? By the way, these two host Pete and Reed. Reed and Pete?
Pete and Reed.
Yeah.
Pete, how'd
He
you-
comes before our.
She's,
Wow.
It's
she's-
alphabetical.
I'm Reed, she's Pete. No, you're Pete.
I don't know who
One
we
of us
are.
is Ethan.
Canadians don't believe in women going first, apparently.
It's we've heard that so many times. It's a
Yeah,
bad
we
joke.
have.
But anyways, it's alphabetical. It says, how are we going to do this?
Fair enough.
Alphabetical,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
And then, of course,
Plus, he's
sense.
older.
I'm older, so it's respect.
I'm charming.
Yeah.
What's your origin there, Pete? How did you? What started this? How did you?
Where were you
did it
born?
come to
Where in
be?
Canada? You were born Niagara
I
Falls.
was born Niagara Falls.
Where were you born?
Toronto.
Oh my God, a Toronto junkie.
Toronto.
Yeah.
How close were you to the street where they would sweep up the hypodermic needles?
No, we lived in Willowdale, which is northern Toronto, and back in the day it was really, country, and it wasn't a lot of.
When was the last
Anything.
time, Rita, you went to the CN Tower?
You know what? I have never been in the
What?
CN Tower.
I have.
Never.
Pete,
Yeah.
you have.
Yeah.
Remember
It's
the
one
light?
of those things that you see all the time, and you go, whatever, one day.
Fourth grade field trip. The fourth grade field trip
Yeah.
where they would put you under that light, which would make your shadow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, of course, did you go there when you can walk over the floor and look straight down?
Yes, that was
The
terrible.
glass.
Now you can hang off.
Yeah, the only thing I want to do is go on and hang. They hook you up and you hang off the side.
Oh man.
No, thank you.
Yeah, I want to do.
By the way, our bozo was from Windsor.
Yeah, that's right.
That's
Remember
right.
he would
Yeah,
drink all
yes.
the Orange Crush?
Yes,
Yeah.
he was a little hyper.
Now, did you ever watch the hilarious House of Frightenstein?
Yes.
You did?
Yes, I am the librarian.
Yes.
Yes. You're scared, aren't you?
That was my favorite.
Yeah.
He's my
Yeah, the
favorite.
librarian was great.
I am the Wolf Man.
My brother
was
would
that
put-
Billy Van?
Billy Van.
Yeah.
When Stephen and I shared a room, because it was Canadian TV, Channel 9, he would play that in the Giggle Snort Hotel, another Canadian children's show. And I remember in the summer, he would get up early in the morning to turn this on, and it's like, shut the TV off, I don't want to watch it. I said, Canadian cartoons aren't even real.
I remember on Frightenstein, remember that they had this super skinny guy on a blue screen in like a super, and he's going with a big afro, red
Yeah,
head.
yeah.
Dancing.
And he's all like, Superman, he's my dad. Square. You know?
But you guys watched the Uncle Bobby show, right?
Of course.
Wow, the
Of
Uncle Bobby.
course.
We
Uncle
can still do the
Bobby.
birthday song.
I can't believe Uncle Bob. I forgot about Uncle Bob.
How can you forget about Uncle Bobby,
Yeah.
Pete? No,
He seemed a little too friendly to me. Though.
Mr. Jessup.
He was scary, Pete.
Mr. Jessup was the weird, creepy old guy who'd hang
Yeah.
out with the little boy puppet in the tickle trunk.
Yeah, Mr.
Wow.
I like
tail
Mr.
drum.
Dress Up.
Yeah, you like
just
Mr.
because he got to dress up and he had to have all these different clothes in the tickle trunk. So
Why weren't there any little girls in the Neverland Ranch? Rita?
I know, right? Yeah.
He's actually
Mr.
really,
Dressup had no use for him.
he's a Canadian icon, Mr. Dressup.
Yes, he is.
I preferred the Friendly Giant, but yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah, but I never really watched much Mr. Dressup. He wasn't, I don't know.
But I was going to tell you, I interviewed Lexa Dwig, and I gave her my Canadian test, which is I'm going to put you guys through in a little bit.
Oh, we'll fail.
One of the things that she told me is they had kids, so they got the best of Mr. Dressup. I remember the puppet boy Casey.
Casey,
Yes, of
yeah.
course.
And there was Finnegan the dog.
Yeah.
Are you a computer? Is that a real guy over there? How do you know that?
It's the walking IMDb.
Clearly watches a lot of kids programming.
Sure,
How does he know everything about every guest that comes in? He'll know about everything. You know, the toy box in your corner of your room, man. It's like, how do you find this stuff out? You know?
But the weird thing is, she pointed out to me is when they watched the Mr. Dressup show and he would address Casey, little boy puppet,
Yep.
they would use, and this is like back in the 70s and 80s,
Yeah.
they would use gender neutral pronouns. They never referred to Casey as a boy.
Huh.
I never
I
noticed
know.
that.
I was a kid. I didn't
Yeah,
pay attention.
That's Pat.
Who cares?
That's how politically correct Canada was.
Yeah.
Now, did you realize that back then, or just,
No,
just
so
an
she
awakening?
told me that.
Yeah,
She told me that, and I thought I never noticed.
yeah, I didn't.
Yeah.
No, I never did either.
Because I dig Canada, but you grew up completely in Canada.
Yes.
And you grew up completely in Canada.
Yep.
What is your favorite thing about Canada, you guys?
God, do we have a month of?
You know, at one time, the favorite thing about Canada was when we were young, it was clean, and it was pretty much crime free. But that's changed a lot, and you get into Toronto now. I mean, it's probably cleaner than most American cities, but the crime rate is definitely up there. And so I don't know. Because my family's half American and they were born in New York City and raised in New York City, I was always in the States.
New
And
York
of course,
City.
Yeah.
All right. Somebody had to.
yeah, I'm not particularly in love with New York City either, but living on the border, right on the border, we were across all the time, and the Americans were across on our side. So we were like one big happy family. We party with them, they party with us, and that's the way Niagara Falls was, right? So, and I played hockey over there. I played senior A
wow.
hockey. Yeah.
He's a big hockey fan. He's got season tickets all the time.
Do you?
Oh, I do.
For who?
Ontario Reign, which is it's kind of the farm team for the Kings.
Okay.
You know,
Oh,
and-
very cool.
That's
Very
better
cool.
hockey, by the way, than NHL.
Hey, listen, man.
Yeah,
don't
it's
hit-
tough hockey.
I'm a Wings man myself.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
And I mean, it's the team of Gordie Howe, who's
Yes, of
freaking
course.
American, no matter what you people say.
Rita and I are both Bruins fans.
Yeah,
you
no,
are.
we're not. No, we are
Rita,
not.
I'm cutting Rita's mic if she mentions how much she loves the Mighty Ducks.
No, I am a Toronto fan through and through.
No. So that was your team. You guys were huge. You're Bruins, and you're the
The Leafs.
the Maple Leaf.
Yep. Blue,
That's-
blue
And we
and
just
white.
beat them, by the way. We just beat them out.
Oh, shut
You
up.
guys are gone, right? Gone.
Hey,
Yeah,
we know
you're
what
going to be
you're
gone.
When was your first experience on ice skates?
Capitals are taking you
What?
down.
You started that early?
Yeah, I was too.
Oh
You
my
were too,
God.
seriously.
Yeah.
So you're playing serious hockey by the time you were 10 or 12, huh?
He was
By the
figure
time I was
skating.
4.
By the time you were 4.
4. Yeah, Bobby Orr. 4. Number 4. Best
Wow.
hockey player of all
Yeah,
time.
no, wow.
All time.
Hey, if you're going to talk goats, it's got to be Gordie Howe and maybe Gretzky.
Yeah, you see, we know
Walter.
we're good friends with
Walter.
Wayne's father. So we,
Are you really?
yeah,
Has
Yeah.
he been on your show?
of course.
Wow, I bow to you guys.
Yeah, wow.
Holy
Yeah,
moly.
no, he's a great guy.
Yeah.
He's a sweetheart.
The man whose penis co-created Wayne Gretzky is.
Go.
He is the ultimate angel on earth. He's
Yeah,
the nicest
he's
guy you'll
such a
ever meet in your
gentleman.
entire life.
Wow.
He really is.
Yeah,
He's class all the way.
And what he does for kids.
Yeah, but you're Canadians. You can't speak badly about
We're
anyone.
even down the street, right up the street from you. Remember, we had the Wayne Gretzky roller hockey arena, and
yeah?
then it lasted for a few years, and they built it into a YMCA after that.
But
Good transition.
They actually stripped it of his name and everything. But I'm a big fan of the Goons. I dig the Goons. I like the.
Yeah.
And I mean, remember the guy the guy, I'm trying to remember, my brother wanted me to mention it to you guys. The goon who slammed hard into Gretzky. Remember that? No. And they literally knocked his teeth out over the course of the game.
Oh, yeah. Gretzky was protected.
Yeah, oh, definitely.
But, you know, the cool thing about Gretzky is, and Walter told us this, is he wasn't a big guy, right? Fast, but he was a sniper. And he would shoot 300 pucks every day, every single day. He loved to skate, and he would be on the ice, and he would beg people. He would pay people to play on his back pond where he grew up, right?
Wow.
But the coolest thing he did was he would sit in front of the TV, and this is the only good thing that CBC ever did, Hockey Night in Canada.
Besides nudity.
Yes.
Yeah, besides nudity. Hockey Night in Canada. Nobody can do hockey like Hockey Night in Canada.
No.
Nobody, okay, to this
And
day.
Ralph Mellenby's the one who created
Yeah,
that.
good friend of ours, too. Have to have him on your show, too. You'd love to talk to him. But anyways, he would sit there and watch the TV, and he would draw where the puck was.
Really?
And he would do every period. He would draw lines, and then he would see areas where there was nobody. And see, the funny thing about playing hockey is when you're playing hockey, you're into lines all the time, and you run those lines, okay? And you're running systems. So you don't see those spots because you're not looking, and they're just like blind spots when you're driving. And that's where Gretzky would be.
Wow.
And
He
that's
would
how he
literally aim for the blind spots.
Yeah. And if you watch the game after you know that, like you go back and watch him, you'll see it. He's in places where most people wouldn't be.
Wow, that makes sense though. Now, you
Yeah,
know?
it does.
Playing in the blind spot.
And Walter, you go to his house, and outside is
Oh, thank you, Rita. Host.
you go to his house,
Thank you, baby.
and out front of his garage, he's got 20 hockey sticks for all the kids in the neighborhood to come over and play.
Oh, how cool is that?
It's so cool, He's just a nice
Yeah,
guy.
and in his basement is the shrine.
Oh yeah,
The shrine.
like everything Gretzky is down there.
Wow.
Every jersey from
Oh, yeah.
Team Canada, you name it. It's
Unlike
there.
the rest of you Canadians, with a shrine in your basement is a statue you pray to of Bruno Gerussi.
Can you believe this guy?
Yeah,
What was this show he was on?
you like Canadian
The
TV. admit it.
Beachcombers.
Beachcombers.
A
Oh,
hop,
Beachcombers.
skip, and jump
I
away.
hated that
Probably
show
they're
so
more
bad.
than you.
I never even saw the show,
Oh, I
but
did.
every commercial was on Bruno Gerussi returns in a new episode of The Beachcombers.
yeah.
And my cousins in Canada, if you mention Bruno Gerussi, like, you can't make fun of Bruno Gerussi.
That's the only thing he did, isn't it? I think.
I want to know, Pat. When was the first time you went ice skating, and when was the last time?
That's a great question, actually. The problem with Michigan is, unlike Canada, where you guys were colder than us, our lakes had a terrible habit of breaking and drowning the kids.
Oh, that's not good.
So what we would do is, it was really lame, but I went to Jim Thorpe Elementary School. Not an ice skater, but what they would do is they would, like in the 5th grade, they would, until they could pony up the money for the hockey sticks, you would have this incredible scam called floor hockey. Where
I like floor hockey.
Yeah.
No, I did. You're gonna go.
you
Yeah.
would suit up, and then sometimes you'd use a broom.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you'd just
A
dust it
little
on.
ring.
Or
and-
broom ball.
It was like donkey basketball without the donkeys.
Listen, whereabouts in Michigan are you from?
Sterling Heights, my good man. I was born in Detroit and raised in Sterling Heights.
Okay, so you got to understand the weather where you are and the weather in Niagara Falls are exactly the same.
Really? Yeah. No, you guys were colder than us.
No, not Niagara Falls.
Are you sure?
Positive.
My parents honeymooned there, by the way.
As a matter of fact, Niagara Falls is
everybody
farther
had
south
to
than
go
LA. People don't know
My
that.
parents were first.
Well, the elevation. Look, you got the fall, so actually you're higher up there, higher elevation to get colder, right? Does that make any sense?
No, were you guys down there when they were shooting like the Superman movies or anything?
I was there. I was there.
Yeah.
Oh, I was there when they were hanging him over the.
Yeah, when they
board.
caught the
I
kid
was,
with the-
Yeah, I
wow.
was there. Yeah, it was fantastic. Christopher Rita and he was a great guy, and really nice guy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, so you were there on the set of the
Yeah.
Superman movie. All right,
There's
I'm
lots.
incredibly impressed.
Yeah.
There's lots of movies that have been filmed there
Tons.
over the years.
John
Niagara
Candy.
Falls, Deer Hunter, I thought was shot around there too, right?
That I don't recall.
Deer Hunter is half of it's Pittsburgh,
Yeah.
and then half of it's then when they go hunting, they're actually in Canada.
Canada.
Yeah,
Well,
it
I
wouldn't be
believe
Niagara
that,
Falls.
'cause it looks like it.
Yeah, you see everyone's breath.
A lot, and Niagara on the Lake, which is on Lake Ontario and the end of the Niagara River, there are a ton of things shot.
Oh,
there.
yeah.
All the Hallmark Christmas movies.
Oh,
They shoot up.
with the
yeah.
suit, jailed Lori
The
Loughlin.
horses going through town. Yeah. it's
Yeah.
all
Well,
there.
yeah, it's always they find love. The small town girl in Santa Claus's son.
Exactly.
Every damn one of them.
So heartwarming.
And they all start out not liking each other,
Oh, no,
and then
yeah.
liking. It's like,
Oh, and don't forget they
seriously?
hate Christmas.
Yes, of course.
Okay, we base everything on the same script, and we just change
Yes.
things around.
Change
and
the actor and actress. That's it.
Friends have directed those. Remember, like Sam who came on the show.
Yeah.
And we're like, and he goes, I'd make fun of it too, but it's my bread and butter.
Yeah, it's giving me a paycheck.
Yeah, I mean, anybody if Lori Loughlin can keep finding love in a town that hates Christmas, I'm all for it.
Look at her now.
Yes.
She's not finding love anywhere. Not even at home.
Exactly.
Was
Yeah.
that show Bizarre with John Byner? Was that
we were just talking
about
I used to
yesterday.
love that show.
With Super Dave
Oh,
Osborne.
Super Dave
Dave
Osborne. Yeah.
Osborne.
Super Dave Osborne. I'm okay. By the way, and remember the reason you don't see Super Dave is he kept getting hit with racism. Did you hear about
Yeah,
that?
I did hear
Yeah.
about that.
He
Yeah.
had the Asian sidekick, which was meant as a parody of the Asian
Right.
sidekick.
Fuji Yakamoto.
Yeah.
And he spoke better English than Super Dave.
Yes.
And they went after. It was such a smart gag, and they went after him on that.
Why can't they just enjoy the fun, man?
Exactly.
Is that why they did that skit, the family, the bigots, and they would tell Irish joke? John
Yeah.
Byner was like a leprechaun, and
Yeah.
the black guy, the Jewish guy,
Yeah.
and the big family.
Had to cover all the genres.
yeah, had to cover everybody.
Yeah,
and it's like,
so you don't piss anybody off.
But when I was growing up in Canada, I mean, we had so many different races, right? But we all made fun of each other.
Yeah.
And it was just
it was all good fun,
Yeah,
you know?
it was no big deal.
And it was
cares?
never anything really nasty. It was just, they
We're
had
the
we
same
did
way.
certain things, they did certain things, and
No, we're the same way here, Pete. We get a little agitated, have a race riot, and everything's cool for the next 10 years.
yeah, fight it out, and then it's good.
There we go.
See, that's the problem
Now
with this world now. You
everybody-
can't fight it out anymore, right?
Yeah,
Two guys
every-
that fight it out, it's over. We walk away, we're good, right?
Everybody's too sensitive. now.
Everybody's offended now.
Yeah, it's
I mean,
ridiculous. Like grow some. You
Yeah,
know, like
and-
grow a pair.
Yeah.
And by the way, these are
Seriously.
Canadians telling us this.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
always
grow
felt like
some.
you're a nation of gizmos against us, a nation of gremlins. You know? I mean, most Canadians have never said damn in their life.
Where has he been?
I know.
You were watching.
right?
See, the problem is you were watching CBC,
Yeah.
which pretends that we're also bilingual, which is the biggest lie
Yeah,
of all time.
right.
And, But you know what?
You won't catch him saying, "Excuse my French," right?
Oh, here-
Pardon?
First of all, if you live in a rue, I'm going to kick your ass as soon as we're off the air. Second of all, I was just telling him and Rich over there the big cultural difference for me as a kid. When your Uncle Jerry would take you to Canada, you would get the Cadbury bars. You remember
Oh,
those?
yes.
And you guys had salt and vinegar chips before anyone else.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
we invented those.
Yeah.
They
We
were
had ketchup
amazing.
chips before you, too.
Oh my God! And you remember? The one thing I'll do anytime I'm in Victoria, I will still get those amazing maple leaf cookies.
Oh,
They're
yes.
good. No, those are good.
Yes.
Yeah, those are good.
Made with real maple?
Yeah,
Yes.
in the shape of the famous.
The maple leaf.
Because
Yeah.
you guys
Oh.
they worship leaves in Canada for some
Yeah,
reason. They put it on their
apparently.
flag.
Oh, what I would do for a job.
Maple trees are everywhere. Come on.
We worship leaves, but I mean, our national animal symbol is the beaver.
Yeah.
Oh, this is true.
Yeah,
Actually.
right.
Yeah.
Well, remember in Sterling Heights, I didn't understand why any visiting relatives would laugh. We lived in Sterling Heights, and the exit for Sterling Heights was no joke. No joke. They made shirts of this. You would get off, you would get out of Detroit Metro, and when you got to our neighborhood, it was Big Beaver, exit 69.
Yeah.
That was it. That was the honest
Yeah.
to God, and I'm sure whoever built the neighborhood had a good laugh. But everyone would take a picture with it, and I was like 8, thinking, "What the hell's wrong with Uncle Jerry and Aunt Susie?"
And you went, hey, what's wrong with that? No. But see, we're now getting together and trying to make the ostrich the official
Yeah.
animal of Canada.
Really?
We are.
Yeah,
Do you
because
guys have ostriches?
no, because
No.
Canadians like to stick their head in the sand and pretend they don't know what's going on. Oh, yeah, that's okay. That's okay. Hey,
We know nothing, we see nothing.
We can start with some T-shirts. T-shirts, right?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
bumper stickers.
I used to love that Margaret Trudeau, the mother of your current PM. She banged the Rolling Stones.
Oh,
right?
yes.
You know,
Of course.
That's not the only banging she did.
Did a lot of that.
I mean, that was amazing to me. You had a first lady who banged the Rolling Stones.
Yeah.
By the way, we've come down here, we're agents. We're looking to trade Trudeau for Trump. If you
Yeah.
guys
You know what? Trudeau is he's so sensitive. I mean, everything
he's
is.
very
He's
sensitive.
so annoying.
What was the humankind was the word?
Yes, humankind. Yes.
But he has great socks.
It's people
Come
kind
on.
now, by the way. We can't.
No, the songs are the best songs I've ever seen in a human being. There was a now gone producer named Joe Wizon who produced Flashdance.
Yeah.
He produced all these American movies. When I interviewed William Friedkin, I went to a screening with Joe Wizon. Joe Wizon had, and Fatal Attraction, all this other stuff. He had socks made from, it was like a Frankensteinian patchwork of different materials. And I mean, he's like,
Hot.
yeah, I kept looking at his socks thinking, those are the most comfortable. I would kill to have one of those socks on for like an hour. I'd even wear them after he cast them
Well, you
off.
should probably get up and talk to our PM because he is a socks specialist. I
really?
mean, he knows more about
That's-
that than
yeah.
anything else. Yeah.
That's his big claim to fame is all his socks are like bizarre and
And he keeps them paired up without losing a mate.
Not sure about that, but
Well, also, turn your mic sideways too. It'll get you even better sound. Turn and speak into the rubber band.
to the rubber band.
Wow, what a difference.
Rubber
Welcome to the
band,
future.
man.
Side feed microphone.
see, we don't have these in
Wow,
Canada.
that's fancy.
We don't have these in Canada. Right? The rubber band mic. The rubber band mic.
I wanted to ask you, since you were talking chocolate bars, did you ever have a Big Turk?
I did have a Big Turk.
Yeah.
But remember, Big Turks are great, but Cadbury was, at the time, all through the 80s, Cadbury you could not get in America. So
Right.
your Uncle Jerry would get you one of the huge, you know what I mean?
Yep.
I mean,
Well, every year I had to send my brother in LA. I had to send him a case of Big Turk because you could get them down there, and Crispy Crunch.
Crispy Crunch.
No,
Right.
and I was gonna let you, but we were gonna let you bring it up. Can we mention?
Sure, you can.
All right, Rita's brother
It's
happens.
sitting right here. No.
I'm sitting on him, actually.
Rita's brother, of course, is the Canadian serious dramatic actor turned comedian, Jim Carrey.
Yes, he is.
Your
yeah.
brother is the second Riddler. I have a third after Frank Gorshin and John Astin.
Yeah, he's a lot of things, you know. We're never sure what's going to happen next, you
Well,
know.
but that to me is fascinating.
Yeah.
I mean, you know,
He was born to do that. You know, when he was like little, my mom would feed him food and he'd sit back and make.
you said
know.
something Canadian. You said mum. Mum. I love Canadians. So, but you said so. It was. Tell us about that growing up in Canada. We're gonna get to you. in a
Yeah,
minute
no
now.
problem.
Yeah,
I love the story.
She would sit him in the high chair and try and feed him, and he'd spit it out and make faces. And,
I love it.
and it started right from pretty much day one. And then as he got older, my dad said, because my dad was funnier than Jim. Right,
Wow,
he should have been a comedian, but he took the safe route and became an accountant.
Wow.
Right, so
Had those kids to pay for.
yeah, exactly. And so he told Jim, like, you should do this because this is what you're born to do. I had a dream when I was 10 that he was bigger than Elvis. So we always knew. Yeah, we always knew he would end up doing that because that's really what he's born to do. And it was always fun. It was like he'd go in the bedroom, you'd hear the records go on, and he'd be doing Ethel Merman or whoever, right, voices. And then he'd come out, and we'd be sitting at the kitchen table, and he'd sit down, and he'd go, I got it. And then he'd do the voice. We go, no, you don't got it. Go back in the bedroom. So that's how he learned all the different voices. Like, he knew 140 voices by the time he was 10.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and then when he stopped doing that on stage and said, I'm never doing voices again, we thought he was insane, right? But he said, I don't want to be like an impressionist. I want to be more than that. So I think he's done rather well.
But I mean, what he did, he's basically the white Eddie Murphy.
Yeah.
He went on to an all-black comedy show, and
Yeah.
he became the biggest star on the show.
Oh, we used to laugh at that all the time, going, "You're the single white guy." What?
He was Garrett Morris,
Right?
except Garrett Morris.
Yeah.
I mean, I just read a book on. There was a book recently written about In Living Color.
Yeah.
And they were mentioning behind it, the book just came out, but behind his back, the script for Ace Ventura: Pet Detective
Yeah.
had been on a shelf.
Oh yeah.
And
For
I
like
mean,
20 years,
Yeah,
a long time.
All these comedians had tried, even I think Belushi and all these,
Yeah.
they tried and would reshelve it. And he goes, I've got an angle on this.
Yeah.
You know, and he was rerunning it.
Yep.
And in
That's true.
all these people in the book are laughing while he's about to commit career suicide.
Yeah.
And the book, the big shocking third act of the book is Ace Ventura becomes like the biggest movie ever.
Yeah.
And you
And
were,
it did at the
and I
time.
mean, this is a script that couldn't get made.
I know. Very
It had
bizarre.
to happen, right, with him.
But we go and see movies, and he did it in that particular movie. We go and see movies to see what he did from the family in the movie because he
Really?
puts us
Tell me about
in
that.
there.
Oh,
Right?
wow.
So in Ace Ventura, alrighty then is a phrase we used as high school kids, right? And we go, alrighty then, right? And all of us, that was our
So it's like a personal shout out to you.
yeah.
guys.
So when he said it, we went, "Oh my gosh, you made it famous! You made it famous!" And then in the movie, he ends up in the nut house, and he's wearing a tutu, and he has work boots on. Well, the work boots are a reference to my brother John, who never goes anywhere without work boots on, including the beach in California.
Wow.
And then the tutu was a reference to me because I tried out for the Canadian National Ballet.
Wow, how cool is that?
So every time we see a movie, it's like, okay, what's in this one? We just wait to see.
Now, Dumb and Dumber is the best. Tell that story.
Dumb and Dumber. Oh well, there's a lot of my dad in Dumb and Dumber, and Jim. You know how they go in and they get the money and they want to get all spruced up and everything. Well, my dad had a disease in his toenails. They look like wood. Honest to God, they look like wood. Right? And so we would always go, "Oh, Dad, your toenails are so gross," and he tried to cut them with scissors. Right? And so my mom would get ticked off because he broke all the scissors in the house because you couldn't cut them. So Jim put the scene where he's sitting in the chair and the person is taking the circular saw or whatever to his feet. And that's a reference to my
Oh,
dad.
wow.
No, the best one is
Which,
peeing in the bottle.
oh my gosh, that's a reference to my husband.
Your husband pees in a bottle?
No, we were going up north, and so we had like cans of pop in the console.
By the way, thank you. Nobody.
Cans of pop!
He mocks me here when he mocks me.
Soda?
If you get,
You don't say soda, you say pop.
Yeah, so when Jeff comes over when I have like a Christmas party or something,
Yeah.
he mocks me when I say, "Who wants pop?" And they're like,
Oh, you're right on. You are right on.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's pop. Soda.
"Did you guys have Town Club? Did you ever drink Town Club?"
It's horrid.
Oh my God, we loved it though. 5 kids in my family.
No, we had to add flavoring.
Finish that story about the pop.
Oh, okay. Anyway, so we had a couple cans in the front seat, like in the console, and my sons are sitting in the back. My husband did not want to pull over to let them go.
When you're going north as a Canadian,
Right?
nothing
You don't
stops.
stop.
Yeah.
Like
High water.
yeah, exactly. So I said to my son, "Well, Dad's not going to stop, so here's the empty pop can. Pee in that." Right? So he did.
How was he going to get it in there?
Well, he did.
If it was little,
Little,
nothing had
right?
dropped yet.
Yeah. So then he put it in the front console, and I said to my husband, I said, "Don't forget, that's not pop, that's pee." Right? And so when we get to where we're going, we had a bunch of people following us. We're all going to hang out together. We pull up, and he gets out, and he's all excited to be there. And he takes the can, he goes, "All right, this is going to be great." Big swig.
By the way, the American word for that, Rita, is karma.
Oh yeah. I died laughing. I couldn't even talk. And I'm spitting and crying, and everybody's like, "What's so funny?" And I go, "He drank pee." So in the movie,
joke's on you. You're gonna have to kiss him.
in the movie, he has the cop come up to the side of the door, and they're drinking beer, and the cop drinks the beer. That's a reference to my husband.
It wasn't actually beer, though. It was pee.
That's pretty damn funny.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to watch what you do around Jim because he'll use it. He'll definitely use it in some way or other. It's going to come out. So,
No, is it true you guys, the whole family worked in a factory?
yep, that's true.
Wow.
Yep.
A tire factory.
Yeah, a wheel. They made wheel frames, like, So,
But
it was
that's-
horrid.
That's amazing.
That was the only time in our lives we actually hated each other.
So how many siblings are there?
There's 4 of us, but my sister's a lot older, so she was moved out. It was just the 3. So myself, Jim's the baby, and then my older brother John. So we all cleaned the factory.
Wow, that sounds horrible.
It was horrible. It was absolutely horrible. And the guy who owned it was like a germaphobe. But his room, his office, was piled with papers, and if you touched one, he knew it. But he wanted it clean. It was just
wow.
it was just the worst time ever in our
How
lives.
old were you? Because this sounds pretty grueling.
15.
Were you in school?
No, I dropped out to do that
Oh.
because my dad lost his job. We had nowhere to go. We were homeless, so he got the opportunity to do this. But we all had to help.
But an accountant loses his job and the whole family is working as basically indentured servants. That's horrible.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you
So
dropped out
true.
of school to do that, which
Yep.
is even worse.
And they lived in a
Yes.
Volkswagen camper.
Yep.
Those are so classic.
In
I love
St.
those
Catharines,
Volkswagen.
we
But
lived in.
not in the winter.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we did.
no.
Yeah, we did part of the winter. Yeah.
Well,
we did.
I picture that on the beach.
Yeah.
With
Yeah.
Volkswagen, you picture beach, not in the mountains. No.
But my mom was
Not-
amazing. She could make like a birthday cake on a frying pan, and it tasted great.
So
she
you
was
didn't know?
very.
Did you know how bad things are, or did your parents kind of hide it from you?
No, they just said, "Oh, we're going on vacation."
It'll be a little long, but we're going on it.
Cleaning vacation.
Yeah, but in the Volkswagen we had a blast because at nighttime we'd put on the Shadow Nose because we had no TV.
You know the Shadow?
No,
You don't, right?
The Shadow was
Yeah, the guy with the
created
big nose.
No, it was a
in
radio.
Lamont Cranston. Yeah, it was created in Detroit.
Yeah, I know.
It was great.
Classic radio shows. Lone Ranger, created in Detroit. Green Hornet, created in
Hornet,
Detroit.
yeah.
Because they would play when I was a kid in the 80s, 70s and 80s, they would play the radio shows on the classic reruns.
Yes,
you know?
exactly.
And we had a phony one. Would you guys listen to? There was a great one done in the style of the 40s called Mystery Theater with
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
E.G. Marshall, right?
Yep.
We'd
Yes.
shut the lights out and we'd lay on
Freak
the
each other
floor
out.
and like shit
I
our
love
pants.
it.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Have to freak each other out. Come on.
Now, when did you and Rita get together, Pete? When did you guys become a team?
We became a full team about 5 years ago.
Yeah.
But we've been emceeing different events together. And the funny thing is, the radio station I did the mornings at, I left. She came in and took over in mornings.
Yeah. Not at the same time.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
weird.
So I was involved with an organization, a great organization called Dreams Take Flight, and it's 100% volunteer. And in Toronto, where it started, it's 30th year this year. As a matter of fact, they're going next week, taking 300 kids to Disney that are challenged, kids with terminal illnesses and stuff. It's just an
So
amazing
almost like
charity.
Make-A-Wish here.
Yeah, and I got involved because when I was doing the morning show, they called me up and said, the day before, said, hey, you want to go to Florida and with Dreams Take Flight? Now, I never answered my phone. Never, ever. I hated the phone because I did talk forever, right? So this time I picked up the phone and I said, yeah, right. I'm going to go to Disney tomorrow. I'll go ask my boss. And he's going to say, no way. I'm going to say, hey, Gord, can I go to Florida tomorrow with Dreams Take Flight and broadcasting? He goes, yeah, go ahead. So that's how
By
I
the
got
way,
in-
what a great boss.
yeah, that's how I got involved, and we broadcasted from Disney. And then when I was involved, I was the media director, and then I went to the station, and nobody wanted to go.
Yeah,
And she
nobody
did.
in the station. He's asking everybody, and I'm like the newbie there, so I didn't expect to get asked. And he's like, "Do you want to go?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I want to go. I don't know why all these people don't want to go. I thought this is a blast. This
Probably
is
sad
great."
though. Do you think it was because of the sadness of what was happening to some
Yeah,
of the
but
kids?
you know what? You make it fun for the kids. So by the time, there's always like we've done it for years. There's a part throughout that day where you're gonna cry.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. Right? Because there's going to be one kid that just hits your heart. Right? Just that one moment. And then we both look at each other and go, walk away.
Because you know what? They, as much as they're fulfilled, we're fulfilled. And, if you've ever been involved with children's charity and people that are going through bad times, they see things that we don't. And they teach you things. And a lot of times, they know where they're going. They know what life's about, and they savor every single
They have such
minute.
a great outlook on life.
And you learn that from them. And
Yeah.
that taught me a lot. So.
Yeah. So that's how we met, and then we hung out.
And then we were like this. It was just, there was like an instant bonding.
Yeah.
And of course, she was at that time 2 more people than she is now.
Thanks
No,
for that.
for real.
I was
You are a
200
tiny
I
little
was,
thing, Rita.
I was 285 pounds when I met him.
Were you really?
Yeah.
Wow, full figured.
Very full.
Go figure.
Wow.
And then, go figure. And then what happened was,
It's that St. Catherine's Winters.
you go, radio is like.
Then I
because
met him, and it was like, okay, I
over.
can't even eat anymore.
Hi, Pete. Finger down
Hold
the
my
throat.
hair.
But then in radio, you get bounced around. You're a hero one day, the next day you're not. And
Hero or goat, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and in broadcasting, even if it's television. So one day we're sitting there and we were, we need to do something together. And we talked about this for years. And then we applied for a country radio station.
Yeah.
And it was inaugural. They just started. And the board of directors out of Toronto loved us. Yeah, we got to have these guys, heard the demo. And then they heard what we wanted to get paid.
And then it was like, see you later.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys are too old to be in country radio. Well, if you know country radio, the demographic goes from 0 to 200.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we just said, let's do something. I mean, we got the
do our
talent.
own.
We've worked in TV together.
Yep.
We produced some stuff in
Produce
Rome.
television shows.
Yeah. So we said, we're gonna do our own thing.
Canadian television show?
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. 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 And actually, in television, I've shot for Discovery Channel, Learning Channel out of Los Angeles, John Deere, because I'm a shooter and a director too. So.
Oh, John Deere, the tractors.
Yeah, did a lot of their
Wow.
commercials and safety videos and all kinds of stuff.
I
So.
have relatives in Iowa who worship John Deere.
Oh,
I bet.
They'll have their living room will be done up in the green and yellow tractors
Yeah.
everywhere you look.
oh yeah, that's a way of life, John Deere.
Oh,
right?
yeah, definitely.
It was a great experience for me.
Yep.
Wow. Now, how long have you guys been doing your show together?
It's 3 years.
Yep.
3 years, the YouTube TV show, The Pete and Rita Show, and the radio show. The radio show started in September, now moving to podcast. And then we just started.
Congratulations.
Yeah. And then
Thanks.
we're shooting stuff while we're in LA here. We've had
Yeah.
some really cool experiences since we've been here.
Yeah, so you've been here a week already.
yeah.
Yes, we have.
What guests have you had on the show?
We went to, when we came in on was it last Thursday? No, last
Wednesday. I talked.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's right.
right.
It was
You
Wednesday.
came right the day you came in. I talked to you.
That night, we got invited to the Hollywood Museum, and not really,
Oh, on Hollywood Boulevard.
Yes.
Yeah. With a,
I'd never been there, and we weren't sure what we were going to. But it was a special dedication to Lucille Ball because it was 30 years anniversary
Of her death?
passing. Yeah.
Yes.
she died. I was as a kid. I was waiting for the Batman movie stuff. Lucille Ball dropped dead, and they canceled all the Batman programming to cover this 90-year-old woman dropping dead.
Oh, no.
But loved Lucy, but we didn't, we weren't quite sure what we were going into, but there was all kinds of stars there. With Nikki from Young and the
Young and the
Restless was there.
Restless,
Jodie and Buffy from Family Affair.
Johnny Whittaker.
Oh, you got to tell him the story about that.
yeah.
Now he looks like Popeye's father.
Yes, actually.
And, we'll tell you that story in a minute. But,
Oh, don't forget, we
yeah.
want a Johnny Whittaker story.
But Kate, Lucille's
Granddaughter.
told an amazing story about her mom. And you talk about vision, getting to where you want to be. And Jim had a vision. Jim wrote himself a $10 million check.
Yep.
Right.
That's a true story then.
That is a true story.
And he put it in your father's.
He wrote a check to himself for $10 million before he was even famous, and he put a date on it, a month and a year, and said, I'll be worth this much money, $10 million, I'll have that in my bank account on this month and this year. So he put it in his wallet, and he always had it there for years. And then when my dad passed away, it was the same time as I think Batman came out, Batman Forever. Not sure, one of the movies.
Oh,
anyway.
the one he's in, or just a
Yeah, the one he's in.
1995.
And anyway, so he had written this check, and so when my dad was laying in his casket, he just leaned over and took the check out and said, "Dad, I made it," and stuck it in his pocket.
Oh, man.
So there's a $10 million Jim Carrey check sitting there just right for
Worth way more.
putting a map and a flashlight.
How good are you copying signature?
But that's what we're talking about with Lucy, is that she didn't even know how big she was, and that she was such a family person, and she just always looked ahead and saw a vision and went for that vision, right?
Even though people told her, that's not going to happen. She's like, yeah, it is. And go for
And
it.
when you watch her on those reruns, I'm surprised she made it through the 50s.
Smoking.
She's chain smoking.
Everybody smoked back then.
Smoking was glamorous. Look at the songs they had.
yeah.
You've got your own cigarette now, baby. You've come a long, long way. Virginia Slims, man.
Yeah.
She's smoking. The Mirthas are smoking. Ricky's smoking. There's a baby in the room, and they're all blowing smoke
Yeah.
at each other.
My parents both smoked, and they smoked Benson and Hedges, which was the super long one.
Remember those ads on the magazines with the broken cigarette?
Yeah, and we always used to joke with my dad because he never flicked his ashes, right? So there'd be like this much ash over the table, and you're like, "Dad, flick your ashes."
You remember those days, right? Your parents, you're in a car, you're in the
Oh,
house,
yeah.
and you are just breathing smoke.
Oh, yeah.
My mom was an RN, so even when we were little, my parents were like, nobody smokes. But I remember I was like 5, to impress the girl across the street. I picked up a cigarette butt. And I remember, this is my big flirting with smoking, the cigarette butts on the sidewalk. Mom goes, "Tony, Ricky's pretending to smoke." So my dad smacks me in the back of the head like this, harder than I just did to you. So I spat this cigarette butt onto Julie Latowski's cheek. That was my first awkward experience with women. I've never smoked because of that. Weed doesn't count. But I mean, watching me spit a cigarette butt on a 5-year-old girl's cheek.
Well, my dad was so bad at smoking that he smoked at the breakfast table, right? So we'd be sitting there
that's
having,
hardcore.
we'd be sitting
What was
there
he
having,
drinking? Scotch?
no coffee, but he'd sit there and have his coffee and his
Irish
cigarette
coffee.
every morning, right? And we'd be sitting there, me and Jim and John, and we came up with this game because we hated the cigarette smoke. So whenever he started smoking, we'd pretend to press the button on the table, and a big dome would come over all three of us and cover us and protect us from the smoke. And we never told him that until we got older and said, "Remember when we'd be like pressing the button and you go, yeah?"
That's imagination right there.
Now, did you smoke growing up?
Never.
Yeah,
I've never
because-
even had one.
You know what? It made those. I mean, in Michigan, you would ride your dad would throw you a buck. Go get the Detroit News, and you would ride down the sidewalk behind everyone's. This is cyclone fences,
Yeah.
and you'd see some kid's dad sitting out there with cigarette smoke in his pajamas, and he'd have orange juice, and he'd have scotch to pour into the orange
Or
juice.
vodka.
No.
Yeah, vodka.
Yeah.
And he's sitting there with a big spoon to stir the
Oh,
vodka into
jeez.
the orange juice. And you're looking, and he'd finish the cup as you drove by, and you ride back on your bike with the Detroit News for your pop. And he'd be working on he'd be making another one. And this is like 7 in the morning.
Oh, wow.
Who the hell drinks and smokes at 7
In the morning.
Those old men.
That's hardcore, man.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that is.
But all that stuff was acceptable back then, right?
It was considered normal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I remember driving up north in a car and Dad smoking away, and
Windows up,
Yeah.
of course.
Oh, yeah.
and I used to say, "Dad, seriously, how can you think that burning leaves and paper is going to be good for you?"
Or the rest of us in the car.
Yeah.
I couldn't figure it out, right? I never smoked. It was because
I was going to say, you guys have great voices. I could tell you didn't smoke because your voices are velvety and luxurious.
Oh, well, thank you.
Quite welcome.
Look what happened to Lucy, right? Remember her
Perfect for
voice?
radio.
Yeah, remember Titanic?
All of a sudden she came on and go, Mom, is that Lucy? Because she doesn't sound the same.
But it was like an elderly drag queen posing as she did a comeback show. Remember that?
Yeah.
Yes.
And it was god awful. Look at it on YouTube.
Yep.
Ow, I'm with you, John Ritter.
That has the real Desi Arnaz Jr. in it, right?
Yes, it is.
And yeah, I was
daughter.
friends with them. We had a beach house in
Oh, yeah?
Sure.
in Del Mar, California, because my parents had racehorses, and my
Well, Lottie Daw. Holy. Look at who came from the good side of town.
Desi Arnaz had
This is how wealthy they were, Rita. Jeff's maid had a maid.
he had this really cool beach house next door to Jimmy Durani's beach house. And, and
Hey, you're gonna have to pick these up.
he
Put
had an
these names in your
adopted
drawing.
daughter named Cece who was my age, and my sister and her would ride horses together and stuff. And I would tag along sometimes, but I ate cornflakes with Jimmy Durani at Desi Arnaz's breakfast table.
Wow.
That's cool.
That was the highlight of my
I
childhood.
like your bragging about Star Effery with Jimmy Durant
Name
for
drop.
Jim Carrey's sister.
Yeah, name drop.
You're gonna have to pick up all
Jimmy,
these names.
Jimmy Durante took us to the movies.
Not Jimmy Durante, Grandpa.
At the summer, he took us to the movie to see 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Wow.
Yeah.
What the hell's going on with this?
Go on in. And he insisted, nah, I'm going to pay you your money. He always wanted to go into the movies. Oh, Jimmy, you can go on in.
Yeah.
Go in.
Would you ask him to?
Now I'll pay you money.
Would you ask him to sing "Frost to the Snowman" on the way home?
No. That's the only reason I ate cornflakes when I was a kid.
My favorite celebrity story. My brother was a writer. My late brother was a writer, and there was a producer friend who also worked at ABC. And their big claim to fame in their old neighborhood is their dad wrote Snow White meets the Three Stooges. Their next door neighbors were Sid and Lorna Luft. I mean, Judy Garland and her husband.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And what they would do is, remember when we were kids, for decades, once a year they would show The Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
Right. Of course.
And he said that he was telling us this great story. His brother Doug produced Gladiator and all this. But the story is, the kids would be watching this big clunky TV. They'd be watching somewhere, they'd be watching The Wizard of Oz. And he said, Judy Garland would come by to make highballs for the adults.
Eyeballs. Haven't heard that in a long time. That's not sexual either. That's a drink.
Yeah. But he said she would lean on the TV, and whatever song she was doing, she would sing along with the song.
Right.
And at the end of the night, they had to report. They had to stop and, what do you say to Mrs. Luck, boys? Thanks for letting us watch your movie, Mrs. Luck. And I mean, the world where Judy Garland is singing along with herself.
Yes.
And I mean, this is the sad, true Hollywood story,
Yeah.
Judy Garland, not the. I mean, this is hilarious,
Did that show scare you? That movie? When you were a kid?
The monkey bats.
That's it. Those monkeys?
Those monkeys are. I took my godson.
Yeah, when they tore up the scarecrow, I was upset.
Yeah.
I took my godson. We took our godson to see it at the Fox Theater here in Pomona, which is where it debuted back in 1930. So we took him there, and I'm thinking this kid's been raised with video games and Star Wars and all that.
Yeah.
And the monkeys, just like everyone else, the monkeys
Freaked him
him out. The monkey scares you more than the witch because the monkeys don't really sing, but like you said, they do that weird song.
Yeah.
And then
Those facial expressions, and then
they were evil.
Did that scare you? What was the first movie to really traumatize both of you?
That one.
Exorcist.
Wow.
The Exorcist was after, but that was the first one for me.
Yeah.
It was the monkeys, and the other one where I closed my eyes is when the witch would show up on that house with the burning broom, and she threw it down on that guy.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I'd cover my eyes and go, I can't watch
the
this.
fireballs,
She's
man.
threatening to kill her dog, the heroine's dog. I mean, that would really disturb me. I mean, why would you hurt the dog?
And then the
Not the
Exorcist.
dog.
I watched The Exorcist once, never watched it again.
Yeah.
You know what? It's funny because I was an older boy. So when I saw The Exorcist, it was one of those things you saw it on network TV all chopped up, and I'm thinking,
Yeah.
this is nothing. And then in college, you see it again at a midnight movie. It's like, what the hell?
Well, you know, I met and interviewed twice the #1 exorcist in the world.
Yeah,
And actually, The Rite, the movie with Anthony Hopkins, is based on his life.
I hate that. But you know what? The problem with that movie is once he turns into a demon, when Anthony Hopkins' demon is Truman Capote. That one bothered me because they used the great Pope John Paul II quote at the opening about exorcism, and you're like, I went to the press screening and I was all in. I was ready to be terrified.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah, but it's a true story. And he said to me when I first interviewed, he goes, his favorite movie is The Exorcist. He said, but that's a joke compared to what I've seen. And
Wow, that's like watered down.
yeah.
That makes my goosebumps.
And do you remember in that movie when she's barfing up the nuts and bolts?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we were over there shooting, and I had my son. He was a cameraman, and he took us into his room, and he went to he pulled out those and showed it. To
I would
us.
not touch those.
No, I didn't touch
No.
them. I never expected to see them, but he showed them to us.
The director of Doctor Strange, he had I interviewed him for Fangoria, and he told me this great story. He did the exorcism. What was it? The Exorcism of Emily Rose.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And that was based on the German case from the 70s. You know what?
Yep.
And if you go on YouTube and they play those tapes, wow. I mean, and he said they gave him the tapes, and he said her in the demonic voice in German was so scary. And if you watch the movie, at 3:15 in the morning, the tapes keep going off. And the director told me he had the tape recorder, they gave it to him as research. And he said the tape was on the kitchen table. And he said it went off at 3 o'clock in the morning, and you have to push it manually to get that.
Yeah, of course.
And he said his wife, they wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning. And he said his wife gave him all the tapes and the tape recorder in a trash bag and said,
Get
this
it out.
goes in the garage. It's not in the effing house ever again.
Oh, man.
I don't blame
Hey,
her.
you don't play with that stuff. You really don't. Like, a lot of people, oh, it's just a joke. It's just, the weird thing about that whole thing is, I was doing 2 separate TV shows for a Catholic organization over in Rome, and I was flying over to Rome, and The Rite came on in the plane. I can't sleep in a plane ever. And I thought, I don't want to listen to this, but I'm kind of dozing in a little bit.
Right,
and
right,
everybody's got it on; you can hear it. Yeah. And I land. I'm there for a couple of weeks, putting this thing together, and I go home. I was in the station till about 11 o'clock. I go back to my hotel, and The Rite comes on, and it's on in English at midnight. Okay, which is never happening in Rome. Someone said, you got to watch this. So I watched the whole thing. 3 o'clock in the morning. I am scared out of my wits, thinking, what's coming around?
3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
That's the witching hour.
He's breaking out the cigarettes and the drinks.
I mean, the scariest scene in that, I mean, the whole idea of just, it's so creepy. And
Well, it's going to get creepier here because the next morning I get a phone call saying, you're not going to be in for setup first thing I said. It's my show. I'm putting the shows together, right? I said, we're going to put it on hold. There's going to be a black limo. It's going to pick you up. It's going to take you to a secluded area, and you're going to do an interview with this guy. It ends up being Father Amor. Oh. Now, that's weird.
Yeah.
that's it goes on. That's about a month.
That was a sign.
Yeah,
But he was the
boy.
kindest, sweetest guy, and you could just, he had this white aura about him. Like, it was amazing. He was really an amazing man.
Well, I have to ask, okay, what is it? You guys have done a lot of interviews.
Oh, yeah.
Who impressed you the most? And if you can name them and not hint around them, who impressed you the least?
Wow.
Okay, Jay Leno, we interviewed. It was one of
Yeah.
our first. And you know what? What you saw with Jay, and Jay, I mean, when Jay did his show, he's not this full impact push out, I'm a big Hollywood guy, right? But he's down about 2 notches from that
Yeah.
when you're talking to him. He's the nicest guy, and he loves people. At least he liked us a lot. But
Yeah.
he didn't
He's
want to
very
leave.
folksy. I mean, if you come up, and I've seen people bother him in the parking lot in Burbank at some store, at a grocery store, but he's really excited. I saw him, a guy he just met. He let him sit behind the wheel of whatever antique car he was
Yeah.
driving that week.
John Schneider was great.
And he
Wow.
also, if you go and when he was doing his show. If you went and saw his show, afterwards in the green room, he comes and visits everybody and he talks to everybody. He's very personable
As
that way.
opposed to Carson, because I was in the back room. He talked to nobody.
Yeah, I have a friend of the family who produced Carson's show, and stuff I won't tell you on the air was pretty shocking.
Yeah. When we did, when we were talking to Leno, we made him, we blindfolded him and got him, and got him to touch car parts and tell us what they were.
Parts.
Wow,
how cool is that?
Right?
Wow.
He got every time he got one, we would give him a prize, right? So he got every single car part right. In fact, the distributor, he took apart blindfolded and put
a
back
carburetor.
together.
So almost like an M16 in the Vietnam.
He really does know his stuff about
he
cars.
sure does.
And we thought we had him because we had an old air conditioner from the 50s.
The
And
very
when
first.
They hung out your window and they
Yeah.
had water in them and the turbine spun.
Oh,
and,
the cooler, swamp cooler.
Yeah.
swamp cool, that's right. And we hadn't seen one before in our life.
Yeah.
Immediately, he knew.
As soon as he held it, he went, "Oh, come on, guys, this is
Swamp
easy."
and there was a part off an old, we had a part off the bumper of some car, and he knew what it was. He knew the year.
Wow, he even knew the year.
Yeah,
of that.
he knew the year of all the parts we did. It was pretty amazing.
I thought the funniest thing he did was a little gag he did with the, he's driving one of his hot rod cars, and he sees the Burger King on the corner, and then he looks around, and then he just gasses it, and bam, and you see French fries splatter on the windshield. I laughed so hard, man. It was like 30 seconds, man, and I just went on.
And his people wanted him to go because he had a show to do, right?
Yeah.
He wouldn't leave. He just wanted.
By the way,
That's
great.
cool,
Yeah.
man.
That's a good
No, it
problem
was
to have.
fun. It was very fun.
And we're talking about John Schneider. He was great.
Yeah.
He was just a really, really nice
What
guy.
a sweet guy that guy is. I met him casually a couple times.
Yeah.
And Schneider is. I crewed up on something he was working on. It was my birthday, and I had all these people coming, and I'm like, I whispered to John Schneider, I got all these. He goes, "Don't worry, director, shouldn't until we convince him it's time to go home." And he goes, "What time do you want to get out of here?" And I told him, and he made sure we got out of there at that time.
Nice.
He didn't have to do that. It was
Yeah.
really decent of him.
And he was a real nice guy. Catherine Bach was great.
You interviewed Catherine Bach?
Yes.
Wow.
Didn't recognize her at first, but yeah.
No, yeah.
Is it a
lovely
different
lady.
thing where, like, when you see somebody, meet them for the first time, and you see them on TV and stuff, and
Were
then
you
you're
trying to
face to
do-
face with them?
Was
That's
this-
you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it was kind of like, there's been a little Botox and whatever over the years,
To
so
preserve the illusion.
yeah.
Nice lady.
Yeah,
Was
she
it-
was very nice.
But this was a Dukes of Hazzard reunion you were doing?
No, we just got them at different times.
Yeah.
Yeah. One time we were in Hamilton. That's where we had Catherine Bach was
Yeah.
in Hamilton.
Was she
John
at
was at a
dinner
Comic Con. John was at a Comic Con.
Which Comic Con? You went to the Toronto Con? Or you
Niagara
went-
Falls.
Wow.
And then Pat Wopat,
Oh, Tom Wopat.
Tom Wopat.
How was he?
Listen, for 2 days, we were like best pals. Him and I, we'd be like high-fiving and having fun and talking about stuff and goofing around. And then we told him we had to go and do something. He said, we'll be on set in 15 minutes. Should
Yep.
we tell this story? Yeah, I guess we can tell
Yeah,
it.
why
Can we-
not?
Yeah,
Sure,
yeah,
go
yeah,
for
why
it.
not? So we got...
We're not related to him.
He was already back on set. Like 2 minutes later, we were about 5 minutes, and he goes, "Where you been?" It was like, okay,
Yeah, like he's ticked.
yeah, like okay, what happened to the friendly guy? for
Yeah,
the last
yeah,
2
where's
days?
that
Yeah,
one?
where'd he go?
Yeah. I think he was just having a bad day or bad moment.
And then we usually write down a few questions or whatever.
And somebody
that we
wrote out some
wanna-
cue cards for
Yeah.
us.
And they wrote his name wrong, his last name. And he goes,
Wombat.
that's not how you impress me. And he got
Or
totally
if you're
ticked
gonna, let me
off.
give you a bit of advice. When you're interviewing Hollywood stars, don't ever spell their name wrong. It's like, well, I didn't do it, and nobody's going to see it.
And
'cause
it had been spelled phonetically, so we knew how to say it. I guess the girl that did it
Oh.
wrote it that way.
Oh, so W-O-E.
Yeah,
yeah,
and
that's
he
what
didn't
pronounced-
get it, right?
Because nobody wants to call him Whoppet on the air.
Well, that's what we had Steve Joyner trying to help. He couldn't help us pronounce your name.
Yeah, your
It's
name
not
is
your name.
even harder to pronounce than mine.
that's why it's just Pete. No,
Wow.
it's a Ukrainian name. And if you're from the Ukraine, it'd be Dychtiar, but we say Dychtiar, so everybody else can say it. Yeah, just Dychtiar.
We even our engineer had he copied it down off
His name is
the.
Hellfinger.
And you're an engineer, and you couldn't figure that out. I suffered with that name. I did.
Oh, yeah.
I suffered with
Well,
that
of
name.
course you did.
Yeah. And the best one was when I finally had enough. And when I was in high school, I was a quiet kid. I get into grade 9.
Most shooters are.
And my name had been bastardized forever and beat up because I was Ukrainian, a little bit darker skin. And so I get in this class.
Great hair, though.
Oh, thanks, buddy. Thanks. It's not real. It is.
It's a weave.
So
You borrowed it from Steve Lawrence.
Yes, I did. Actually, it was, it's Steve Lawrence. So anyways, I'm sitting in class, and everybody gets a name called out, and it comes up to mine. He goes, Pete Ditchimatari?
Matari.
I stood up. I said, sir, no disrespect. But do you see an M anywhere in that name? And so that's but it's it's a tough name.
Well, yeah. Those. How many letters?
I don't even know. Dychtiar. So how many letters is that? 8, 9?
8.
I don't even know. It took me 5 years to learn how to spell that name.
It
I
sounds
still
like a race
learn.
of people off a planet, like an episode of Star Trek.
Yeah.
The Dychtiarians.
But it's Ukrainian.
Well, our last name really isn't Carrey either.
It isn't?
No,
What is it?
it's Carrey, Carre with an accent aigu.
What is that?
Right? It means the square. So it's really Jimmy the Square.
Wow.
My grandfather changed it because nobody could pronounce it
No.
properly.
Jim Square would
that's
be a
why
terrible
there's
name.
like usually Carrey is Carey, 1 R. Ours is 2 because he added the Y at the end. That's why.
Aha.
Interesting. Wow.
Now, because we were just talking about that, people that have difficult last names, how they change their names for Hollywood
Make it
purposes.
simple.
You know.
No, as a matter of fact, in radio, I had a new program director come in, and I'd been on radio for 5 years at the time, and I was already doing talk in morning. And he goes, we need to talk.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and he's literally, you know how new program directors have to come in and change everything, and they're great ideas. And so he sits there, and first of all, he's picking his nose. And I went, buddy, that's got to stop.
It will, don't you worry.
He goes, you got to change your name. You can't have that name. What's your middle name? I said, James. You're Pete James. I said, no, I'm not Pete James. I'm Pete Dychtiar. He goes, no, you're Pete James. I said, no. And literally, I said, I was beat up, bullied. I'm keeping the name. It's going to stay there. It's my grandfather's name. It's going, right? He goes, well, then you're fired. And he literally fired me.
So much for all Canadians are nice.
See?
We have to.
So that was my first great episode. And the funny thing is that the owner of the station, this is how things circle, right? He loved me, but he couldn't say anything because he had this kind of contract. 6 months later, he hires me as the radio station consultant. Wow. I fire him.
And karma.
Back. Yep. Payback.
Yeah.
And now, have you guys interviewed William Shatner on the show?
We have not.
No, we were supposed to actually last year in London. Mm-hmm. We couldn't get our schedules together. So he was willing to do it, and I would have loved to have done it. Have you ever met William?
Yes, I have. He was very nice to
Yeah.
me. He signed my when the Shatner book came out at Amoeba Records, and I would just kind of like he was like I was going, hey Bill, Jeff. And then he
Boy, I feel like I'm back.
then he sees
wait.
Jeffrey. How you doing?
Whoa.
Jeffrey?
Was William Shatner having a stroke? Because
I was kind of stammering. And he just kind of laughed, and said, "Okay, Jeffrey, what do you want me to write?"
We're best friends.
Yeah, we're best friends.
But he's
There you go.
a short guy. He's a pretty short guy. I thought, when I first met him, I thought he was like the big captain. He's
Right.
Yeah.
a pretty short guy. So I was.
It bums me out because it means everyone else who's in the show is very, very short.
Yeah, to make him look big.
Or
Yeah.
he was standing on boxes. I think at times they did that
Couple
too.
boxes.
Shoes.
But
Yeah.
we met Gorn, the guy who always double fits and hits on the back. The Gorn, remember?
Bobby Clark, the old stuntman who played the Gorn.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
But to me, it's interesting. Famous Canadians, if you talk to Gordon Lightfoot,
No.
what?
No.
Anne Murray.
No,
No.
but that's on our list. No, that's
Yeah.
on our list. Yeah, we definitely want. We were just talking about this a couple of weeks ago. She's kind of gone into hiding, but we want to get Anne Marie. By the way, I want to finish the Tom Wolpat story. 'Cause
Please.
It turned
where
turned
we
out
go?
okay. I don't want to make you think that you just turned into this like lousy, rotten guy.
Ass.
And so I got attitude now. Now I'm going. Oh, this is going to be good. Because
Yeah, and I'm going, Pete, calm down.
So I'm thinking,
He's just a good old boy, Pete.
as
Yeah.
a
Don't
talk
get me
show host,
wrong.
I love the challenge. Okay, I hated when it was boring. Oh, we love your show and you're so great. Oh no, but when a guy came hard at me, so he's hard at me. I thought, all right, let's go. Let's see where we can go with this. See if we can pull something out of this guy, right? And I was ready to say, hey, get off the set. You are gone. And of course, that would have turned into a fist fight, I'm sure, right?
Could you take him?
Yeah. Well, you never
He's
know.
a childhood hero.
On a good day, yeah. I know.
If he was on your lunchbox, you're obligated to let him get 2 shots in.
But then it turned out to be a great interview, and it all worked out. And I just, I don't know what it is. It's, how people, there's certain thing that just triggers you.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. And I think that's just one thing.
And he
Maybe-
had no patience for us not being there on time.
and then after that, he was fine. So-
yeah, he was fine.
Where were you guys?
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty
But
much.
then just after that, he got
And-
arrested.
And,
There you go.
yeah.
For they found something in his car or something. You remember that? It's a couple of
Was
years
it
ago.
here or was it in
No,
Canada?
no, it was in the U.S. Yeah.
The guy from.
Give me a hint. Come on, give me a hint.
Bigger than
man,
Red Box.
His name just went out of my
That
head.
Actor, writer, animal, mineral. Oh, sorry.
Cheers.
Oh,
Dancing?
George
Norm.
Wendt.
Norm.
Yeah, George Wendt.
Yeah, Norm was
Wow.
great.
Yeah.
Norm was great. Norm was.
He's very dry sense of humor, though. Like you'd say something and then he'd contradict you, and like if you said, "Oh,
you're talking about Cliff.
Cliff."
Cliff
Yeah.
was tough.
Yeah.
Actually, you know what? But one of the best stories, again, CJ, the producer, a friend I was telling you, he was an executive.
Yeah.
CJ, the guy whose dad wrote Snow White Meets the Three Stooges, he told me one of the most amazing stories. Cliff was a director for a number of years.
Yeah.
And Cliff was directing Evening Shade. And it's no secret that Burt Reynolds was a big alcoholic on
Yeah.
Evening Shade.
Yeah.
And he said they would do entire episodes of Evening Shade where he's drunk at the table and either has like one line or no lines. And the Mary Lou Henner and the kid and the rest of the cast are working around this angry, drunken sculpture of Burt Reynolds. And he goes, and Cliff was directing an episode. And Burt Reynolds slammed his drink down. He had to drink on set. And he goes, when are we going to shoot the effing episode? And the kid said something to him like, when you finally decide to stop getting bombed. And he got up and he was going to hit the kid. And CJ said, Cliff took the punch meant
Really?
for the kid.
Wow.
There was no time to get the kid out of there because he
Right.
It was
Leaned
so
in.
he literally anybody who's going to take a punch for a kid from an angry drunk.
He's okay.
I'm gonna give him. I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt, even if he's a little douchey.
No, he
He
just.
wasn't. He was just contradictory. Everything we said, he was like, "Well, no, it wasn't that way," you know. And then we.
I hate interviews like that.
Yeah,
Boy.
exactly. And then we'll go, okay, so it was this way, what he just said, and well, it wasn't quite that
You're
way.
talking about Jeremy Piven.
No, oh no, that's a
By the way,
whole other
hold on.
story.
Since you brought up Piven,
Yeah.
who's in my brother's movie, the movie my brother wrote, Grosse Pointe Blank. There was like before Entourage, he was a hero for Entourage and got like 5 Emmys.
Mm-hmm.
And then when the Me Too thing came up, suddenly everyone connected to Entourage was filled.
Yeah.
So did you interview him after the whole Me Too thing, where suddenly he was a war criminal?
No, we're starting. We interviewed him just after he had the sexual.
Yeah, the Me
encounter.
Too,
Yeah.
the Me
Yeah.
Too thing came up, and because he had Entourage on his resume,
Yeah.
everyone connected the Entourage was suddenly persona non grata. Have you noticed
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was up in Canada because he was doing comedy clubs, trying to be a
Yeah, he
comedian.
was going to be a comedian.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was he funny? Did you actually see him?
I saw him. He was okay. He needed work. It was the first time he'd ever got up there. But he had some stuff, but it needed some work.
And I remember asking him the question. I said, "So what's it like?" I said, "I know you did some comedy." He goes, "I didn't do any comedy. I have never done stand up before." I said, "But I saw it." And no, you didn't. I said, "In Montreal, he was at the comedy awards in
By the
Montreal."
way, if you're at the comedy awards,
Busted!
no, did he squirm or did he take it like a man and admit to it?
No, we knew it was going to be a tough interview when Pete's like looking at lighting and stuff like this, and he walks by and he's got just a T-shirt on. We haven't started, like we're going to film this. He hasn't changed, and Piven just looks at him and goes, and looks at me and goes, I hope he wears something better than that.
Matter of fact, I'm taking my shirt off.
And I'm like, yeah, he's going to change. And that was it.
Did he change or did he keep the show? Oh, no, but you
Yeah,
guys,
you just-
but was he different? Because
He's one of those people, if you say something, it's definitely, he's not coming back with the answer you want. Or you know.
Oh, one of those.
Yeah, that you're like,
Yeah.
seriously,
And
buddy.
I asked him about Rush Hour. That must have been fun. Oh, they didn't talk to me.
Yeah, that's what he said. Jackie Chan, and they didn't talk to me. That was his answer.
By the way-
like, where'd he go from there?
See, that's the thing that we've talked about this, and doing magazine interviews and doing interviews like this, every answer should lead to another question.
Yeah, in your thought pattern.
And it should
right?
be easy.
Yeah.
If he's hammering the door behind him after. What do you do with something like that? Because you can't end the interview.
No, I really did want to end it, and the only reason I didn't is because
Airtime.
we had a large crowd of people that were
Just
watching.
Yeah, so we didn't. But
Yeah,
it
it was pulling teeth for
By the way,
sure.
it's
But those interviews are the worst. I mean, the ones where you'll interview someone and you realize really quick they're soused.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Have you had that? I'll go to somebody's house. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it'll take about 5 minutes, and the giggly and the answers, and you're, oh no, she's drunk. And she everything's a giggle fit, and that's not going to transcribe to an exciting interview.
No, exactly.
And the other thing is, and it's something you must have recognized in your life, and I had to be taught this because I didn't understand. I used to think people didn't like me. Small man syndrome.
All the time. I'm 6'9". You'll always be the one. The teacher will always pick you first.
Yeah, and when
Really?
you walk into a room, when somebody actually showed me what was happening to me because I didn't know it, I didn't understand it. I would get into a room and try to get small, and you got to get small because the smaller people are usually tougher and they know where they want to go. But the first thing they do is they look you up and down.
They're sizing you up.
Yeah, and then when you see that, you're in trouble. And Jeremy went,
Yeah. Oh, yeah, he did.
and I went, this.
He
kid's in
did it to
trouble."
me too. So
That's for a different reason.
Rita's a petite little. When I interview actresses, a lot of the time, what I'll do is, when it's for like a magazine, I'll just kind of gently kneel in front of them so they're looking down on me. Because I wanted them to answer honestly. I did that.
really, I didn't get a kneel. What the heck?
Because I'm sitting, Smarty. And you're incredibly charming, and you're Canadian, so I knew you'd account for your manners.
Yeah, we accept everything.
But like I interviewed Leah Thompson,
Yeah.
and I just kind of did like a half crouch, and my friend came up and he goes, "I took some pictures of you proposing to the chick from Back to the Future," and it's like, no, he's interviewing, but that way with girls,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? But yeah, when you get a guy like that, either on an audition, on an interview, anything, when they're looking at you like at the height,
Oh, you're done.
yeah.
You're done. And I don't care what you do, they don't like you. And so now I used to take it personal. Now I don't take it personal anymore.
I did a Bigfoot movie in Colorado, and I didn't tell anyone what I was doing. I was sharing a cabin with the effects guy, but the local paper, it was Lakeshore paper, Lake City paper, ran an article, and everywhere you went, "You're the Bigfoot in the movie, ain't you?" And I go,
Of course you are.
What made you think that? Because you look like Bigfoot without hair. That's
Because
why.
you can't fit through the door.
She'd go, "You're the tallest feller this town has ever seen."
And you
I'm
should say,
thinking,
Feller.
that's
Yeah.
politically incorrect. You can't say that
Yeah.
to me.
Yeah.
and I'm
We used to make
Don't
fun
ex-
of Pat like that. Said if Pat goes camping or hiking by himself, and they're going to say the Bigfoot dressed like a
My
human.
mom, they wanted me
And he
to,
shaved.
They
Wearing-
wanted,
yeah.
Awesome.
Bigfoot shaves himself and goes to thrift store.
In college, I was invited to go on a Bigfoot hunt to cover it, and my mom was like tearful. She goes, "Ricky, you're gonna get shot in the head. They're gonna
Oh,
think you're-"
yeah. Yeah.
So I stayed home.
Wear
right?
blaze orange.
Yeah. By the way, my mom bought me an orange hat, but she was so adamant I was gonna get shot by some a-hole that I decided to skip the hunt.
That's totally possible.
Bigfoot, we got him. He's down.
But I mean, the great thing about that, though, I mean, the problems of being tall, they're always someone else's bag when they, you notice this too. I mean, if you have a problem with a tall guy, You know, I've never, the small man syndrome where there's always somebody looking to fight you.
Yes. Well, in hockey, that's what it was. Because back then at 6'3", 220 pounds, I was a big hockey player. Now they're bigger than that. Now
that was my height. That was my height in 10th grade. But
I'm 6'3" with heels.
But you got to fight.
Yeah, you have to. I mean, again, and I remember the last real fight I got into, we went to a movie. My brother and I were at a movie. And I always get my seats early because I don't want anyone complaining. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And this drunk lady sat behind us with her boyfriend and started cursing us out. She came in about 5 minutes into the movie. And she thinks by drunkenly swearing at us, it's gonna change our mind. Oh, we're gonna move. And give you all, you know.
We're out of here. Yep.
The place is filled. Yeah. There's no. It's an early screening.
Yeah, nothing like having the big tall guy in the front seat. Like the front row.
And
Could you be a little shorter? I can't see the movies.
Yeah.
so she's cursing us out and calling us every name in the book. And my brother says something that sounds something like blow it out, you're something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yep.
And her boyfriend decides it's my turn to get involved. This is my little brother, Steve. You remember this story.
Yeah.
So he throws his bag of popcorn in my brother's face and cheap shots him.
Oh.
I'm not going to let someone pop my little brother. So my brother and I just turned around and just beat on him until the cops came in. And the cops came in and they started laughing when the guy, and by then he was just a mass of welts. I mean, Steve worked the face, I worked the body.
The tag team.
And he made the mistake of saying in front of the cop, he goes, I must have been crazy to start a fight with those guys. And thank you, that's all we needed.
Yeah.
And once that happened, the cops go, all right, boys, go enjoy your movie, but watch it upstairs in the balcony. I mean, I just saw him checking his teeth in the movie, and he was looking at a silver frame in one of the movie posters, checking for his loose teeth.
Oh, wow.
And I mean, but I wouldn't do that normally, but if you hit my brother, it's on. It's
been there.
Gotta defend.
Midwest and Canada, you gotta,
We did
represent.
feel short
Yeah.
at the last comic convention we were at WonderCon. Oh my God! Remember all those tall people we ran into? And I said, I got to get a picture of you with Pat and make him look short.
Well, you know what I mean? I mean, it's an interesting problem. You don't really notice it until you go to a foreign country. Canada's pretty good about it.
Yeah.
But if you go to England, I was bumping my head everywhere I went. And
I bet.
I was invited to Japan, but my friend in Japan said, listen, I'm 5'10", and there have been times that I thought I scalped myself. He goes, you don't want to go to Japan.
Yeah.
And, you know, I mean,
Especially the hotels, you wouldn't fit in there.
but I've never had a bad, like you said, it's always a little guy who has a hang up on your size.
Yeah.
I've never had a problem with it. It's always somebody else projecting on you. You know what I mean?
And it's insecurity. And you know, a lot of times you'll get shorter people like that. They're way more motivated. They really are. They're motivated to just get things done.
But they get angry when they see you, and it's like, F you.
Really?
You know?
Yeah, you don't even
I
know
never
me.
understood it.
Yeah.
Until a woman explained it. She goes, do you know what happened to you in that room? I said, no, I have no idea what happened. And she explained, she was a psychologist. She explained it to me, right? And I went, wow, really? And she said, yeah, get small. And that's what I used to do, get small. And you know what? It worked.
Was that before Steve Martin? Was that? Let's get small.
I remember a girl in college telling me she hated tall guys. And she appeared in the local paper ranting about tall guys, how she would only date someone smaller than her, and she was like 5'6". I remember saying, good luck when you get mugged.
I never understood that. I see a guy, a 6 foot one. I see these short guys, like, that's like, no, you need to be with me here.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but sometimes with tall girls, nobody asked. They're always intimidated.
Yeah.
Tall girls have told me that and it's weird. It's, you know what I mean? I mean, it's, to me, volleyball players are the most beautiful women on earth. Even high school volleyball players.
Is that a height requirement? Yeah, I've never seen a short
much.
pro volleyball player.
You got to be so you can reach over the net.
Yeah, exactly.
But you know, for me, I don't see size. I don't. I really don't. I see the person. And,
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the mark of a good interview. I mean, to me, people ask you every day, and I've been asked by people, does it bother you? I would rather be asked about being tall than how'd you lose that leg? You know, what happened to your face?
You got it.
You know,
You got
I
it.
mean,
but-
if that's the worst of my problems, being too tall for some people, I'm cool
Yeah.
with it.
Yeah.
and I'll give you a great example because Mini-Me, who was
Vern Troyer.
Troyer,
Yeah.
who just
Troyer.
passed away.
Yeah.
We interviewed Vern.
Yeah.
And yeah, you see a neat because what was the shortest guy. I think he was 2
So,
foot.
by the way,
2'8".
I want this on record.
Yeah.
He's a fellow Michigander.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
He's
2 foot
Amish.
8 he was.
2'8". But let me tell you something. As soon as we talked to him, you did not see his size. He was.
At
You want to talk
all.
about a great interview?
That's a great interview.
That would be the best.
Vern Troyer?
Yeah.
Just a sweet man, very down to earth. Talked all about his family and how he lived on a farm and he had to do all the things that his regular size siblings had to do, muck up the barn, everything. He was just fantastic.
Shovel
He's
up
the
pens.
alien baby.
Yeah.
He's the alien baby in Men in Black.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one of the great stories, my brother Don was on set, on effects work. And Vern Troyer passed out. He was this little like pig pen type alien
Yeah.
baby. And he said this giant teamster with a big calloused hand, "Hey, buddy." And he goes, it looks like Vern Troyer's head's going to snap off. "Hey, buddy, you okay in there?"
Oh, gee.
And he says, every time that he's slapping the face of the mask, Vern Troyer's whole body seems to be flipping around like a frog in a hot plate.
But he was so nice and so down to earth. And then it was, a month later he passed away? I
think it was a little
And
bit
we
farther,
were
yeah,
shocked
yeah.
because he just had such a great attitude. It didn't seem like that would
And he was
happen
bigger
to
than
him.
life. He was
Yeah.
bigger than life.
He did a great little, I think it was Instagram or something. He made a little video about a little electric car that came, a toy, one of those toys that came to his front yard, and he gets it out.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, I thought that was
Yeah.
great, man.
Yeah.
The guy's got such a great sense of humor,
Yeah, he did.
Such a sad loss. Really.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the amazing thing to me is when you look at somebody like that. I mean, I remember I knew his agent, and his agent was probably, "I'm the guy who got him on The Real World," or whatever the thing is, where he passed out drunk and piddled himself. I go, I wouldn't brag about that in front of his family.
No, exactly.
That's kind of no. Can I ask you a question since you brought up Mini-Me?
Yeah.
Is it true your brother was going to play Dr. Evil at one point?
He was offered it. Yeah,
Wow.
he was offered it, but I think there was scheduling conflicts of what he was doing at the time, so it just didn't happen.
But that's amazing that you know what I mean.
He'd make a great one.
Right, yeah.
I'm picturing that in my mind right now.
Yeah, he would. He'd do it justice for sure.
And you look at another thing in that Living Color book that just came out this year.
Yeah.
Is he had Wayans, one of the Wayans brothers and him had a disagreement at a cast reading, and he did the ass thing. in
Talked
the
out of his
reading.
butt?
He talked out of his butt, and they said it was to the Wayans brother. It was considered incredibly offensive. How dare he? And then he said it shocked them even more when he turned it into the routine in the movie. And
Yeah.
I was substitute teaching at the time, and middle school kids were talking out their ass. The Monday after that, suddenly every kid
doing that, teacher.
Yeah.
Every kid is grabbing his ass and pretending to talk out of his
Mothers all over the world hated Jim at that point.
I mean, was that weird to see your family go into the zeitgeist like that? You mentioned how he would make direct references to your parents,
Yeah.
to your husband.
Well, no, because we kind of grew up with him doing that during our lives. Like my father-in-law, when I first met my mother and father-in-law, well, they were like not my mother and father-in-law at the time. I was dating their son. They came over to our house. They're sitting in the living room, and there's a staircase on the opposite wall from where we're sitting. And all of a sudden, we hear Jim, and he loved to do Kato and that whole
Kato
thing.
Bruce Lee from the Green Hornet.
Oh yeah, and you'd hear him at the top of the stairs. Oh, good, and he'd be doing this voice right at the top of the stairs, and all of a sudden he'd come flying down the stairs, like rolling over, like he fell down the stairs, and he'd lay at the bottom of the stairs. My father-in-law jumps up, like, and my dad just grabs his hand and goes, "Sit down. You haven't seen nothing yet." then Jim gets up and he does it backwards up the stairs, talking backwards. Yes, like he rewound it all the way up the stairs.
Wow.
Then he does it in slow motion back down the stairs. Right? So my father-in-law is now crying, laughing. But that's the kind of thing Jim did that you just got used to.
No, you never know that, because the first time I saw him, it was dramatic. It was the Deadpool with Clint Eastwood.
Yes.
And he played with Guns N' Roses. He was a rock star.
Yeah.
And that
It
overdose
was
on...
like Axl Rose in that.
Oh, my God.
By the way, you're exactly right. That was the
That death scene, that OD scene was just very convincing. I didn't even know who he was back then.
I'd never seen Jim do anything serious. So I went, my husband, my niece, and her husband, we all went to see the movie. And so we're sitting there, and that happens right at the beginning of the movie. Like, he's dead in 30 seconds.
But it's in a movie with Liam Neeson and Clint Eastwood. It's really weird.
Yeah, well, so we're sitting there, and all of a sudden he ODs, and the four of us just start laughing. We cannot stop.
I was horrified.
We cannot stop laughing because we've never seen him do anything serious. So we're like, it was just, we had to leave the theater because we could not contain ourselves.
Wow.
But no, I have to ask, as a journalist, as a reporter, could you interview your brother, or would you be too close to it?
I have.
Oh, you have?
Yeah.
But do you feel you did it justice? Because this is always a question.
No, it's more like just talking to him. Like, you know, you're sitting in the kitchen, around the kitchen table talking to your brother.
That's the best interview there is, though. When you can make your interview like it's just you guys having a chat.
Yeah.
And
Those are amazing.
That's why so many people like interviewing. Like we had, who's the lady that was E.T.'s mom on E.T.?
Dee Wallace.
Dee Wallace. Okay.
I interviewed her at the Hollywood Horror Fest last year.
Yeah, well,
on stage.
She goes, I don't have time. I don't have time. Maybe give you a couple minutes. That's all I can do. And we're okay. And we were like, okay, we got to go.
Yeah.
Careful with
What are we
her.
going to ask her?
Yeah.
Make it quick.
Well, we just like we're talking to you. That's how our interview is, right? And we had some information on her, and then the rest is just basically just listening, right? And then you get to make that conversation because you're listening, and that takes you to a place where not everybody else goes, like ET and everybody else are trying to promote books or whatever, right? This takes you to other places. Well, guess what? We didn't go to commercial break because we didn't think we were going to have more than a couple minutes. I think we went like 22, 25 minutes,
Yeah.
and we had to cut her.
But she's amazing.
You got her going.
Yeah.
She was wonderful.
Oh, I
Wonderful.
loved interviewing.
If you hit a wave, I always call that hitting a wave. When especially somebody who's reluctant. I mean, like Margot Kidder from Yellowknife.
Another Canadian.
Yeah, by the way, exactly.
Yep.
Margot Kidder, I ran into her and asked her for an interview, and she goes, I'm not interested in talking about all that Superman shit, darling, you know, and I go, actually, I wanted to ask you about Easy Riders and Raging Bulls. And she looked at me because if you read the book by Peter Biskind, Easy Riders and Raging Bulls, Margot Kidder is this lost connection to 70s cinema. She introduced Spielberg to Scorsese. She was dating all these guys. And I read the book and I saw the documentary, and she goes, You read the book? Not just the documentary, you read the book. And once you got her talking.
Yeah, you opened her up.
And she was so blunt. And again, when you hit a wave like that, she was living with Brian De Palma.
Yeah.
And he goes, I wrote a script for you, Margot. And he goes, go out to the kitchen and enjoy it with breakfast. And it was the script for Sisters.
Oh, okay.
And she said she opens the script, the red ribbon to My Dear Margot. And the first 3 pages, she's having sex with someone and cuts off their penis. She shouts out, you wrote this for me?
The original Bobbit.
Yeah. when you get somebody who's reluctant, a Dee Wallace, who thinks she's told all her stories.
Yeah.
Oh no, she's got a
Get, and then they come out.
She sees you two, and she thinks, "Oh God, they're going to ask a bunch of ET questions."
Yeah, exactly.
And you go in different directions. I mean, people forget she was in the original Hills Have Eyes and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing about her, I met her as a kid. We took my grandma to it was the height of Hollywood. We've been in town like a year. And we got to drive, when grandma was in town, we had to go to the Merv Griffin show, You know,
good old Merv. Yes.
and Grandma loved Merv Griffin like he was a member of the
Oh
family.
yeah.
My mom too.
And we're sitting next to this guy who looks kind of a blonde Tom Selleck, and I recognized him from the horror movies, and he was Dee Wallace's husband, Christopher Stone, a great B-movie actor, fantastic guy, and he's with Dee Wallace's mother, and it's at the height of her fame, and we recognized him, and we were asking about the Howling and this Cujo and all this. And he goes, Mom, these boys wanted to ask me questions about me, and I felt really bad because I thought suddenly the Star is Born with Judy Garland, because you realize, oh my God, the pendulum has swung, you know, and he wants validation from me, a stupid kid from Michigan, and it made me feel bad because he was a cool dude, But I mean, were you guys always this way? Were you always asking questions? Did you always have a curiosity there?
I was always that way. My life. I mean, I got the letters mixed up. I knew it was the letter B, so I went to school and university for biochemistry, and then I think it was broadcasting I need to be in. It was a deduction. It was a theory.
I was an English major, so it was always a fait accompli. How about you, Rita?
No, for me, it was, I started, because I'm a singer. And so I started singing on my city bus. I drove city bus. And
You drove a bus while singing?
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Oh, Canada. Should have picked a song everyone would go on. I used to listen to that, and Channel 9 would play that every sign out.
Yeah.
You'd have a bunch of people in turtlenecks.
I've sang anthems for, the Bills and all
have
kinds
you? You've come out and sung for the...
Both.
Yep.
What do you think of the new version of the
Only
song?
when you were on the
Hate it.
bus? Or when you drive your car to the and get on the bus?
Yeah.
So
I sing. Well, I'd sing anywhere, but
do you sing old school version or the new version, which Pete
I
just
sing
did?
the old
Good
school
girl.
version.
Yeah, we don't-
I am not changing it. I don't
Yeah.
care what they say.
You know what?
Bleep your-
Here's the problem: is it's not politically incorrect. It's an honor to the people who were in war, in ditches, dying and fighting for freedom. Those were in all my son's command. That's what we're talking about here. Okay, so
How dare they? You know?
it's a disgrace. I mean, vets in the U.S. and Canada are treated like third-rate citizens. Here, take pills. Here, get out of my hair. Here's enough. Go live
Yeah.
on the streets. Go do what you have to do.
Shoot up if you need to.
terrible.
Just
Yeah.
don't tell us your
terrible.
problems.
It's a
They
disgrace.
should be
Toronto.
honored.
Toronto is the one where they're sweeping up the needles in the street, right?
Yep.
Oh, they're everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
It's everywhere. It's right across the street from our radio station.
So yeah,
Really? Where is your station in Canada?
in Niagara Falls.
Oh, okay. Go on, Rita. I'm sorry. I cut
So
you off.
anyway, I got on the
going
bus,
along?
and it was actually a joke because I sing, but I wasn't singing on the bus. And then it was Christmas time, and I love Christmas songs.
So lots of Anne Murray.
I handed out Christmas songbooks to my people that get on the bus every day.
Oh, wow.
And
That's charming as hell.
So I said, "There's a test. Study up, right?" So they're like, "Oh, really?" And this one lady said, "Well, if you sing, I'll sing." And I said, well, okay, I'll sing. So I did. And she goes, well, hell, if I'm singing now. Next day, CHCH, which is a channel up where we come from, they came on the bus, this Toronto Star, all these newspapers.
The singing bus driver.
They came on the bus to listen to me sing.
Wow.
Would you do now? Would you do obscure Christmas stuff like Good King Wenceslas?
No, because I don't remember all the words.
Nobody does, but the first three lyrics are killer.
And then I go to do I'll go to a comedy show. I went in here in LA. I went to what's the Comedy Store.
Yes.
And everybody knew that I was there, all the comedians. And this one comedian was being a real, kind of egging me on, like, oh, yeah, sure, you're Jim Carrey's sister. You going to come up here and do something? And I said, oh, trust me, buddy, you don't want me to go up there. Because I'm pretty outgoing, right? So
Right, but you're
I get
Canadian,
up-
so you're
So
sweet.
I get upstairs.
Wrong.
I get up. So he goes, oh, come on, I dare you. I said, okay. So I get up on the stage, and he's this big bald guy, and he's sitting down. So I sat in his lap, and I just went, I'll always love you for the rest of my days. And I was rubbing his head down his chest, and all the comedians started howling, and they're like, she got ya. So no, I didn't end up.
Was
in
that
front-
Bill Kirkenbauer?
I don't know. know. I wish I did know, actually. But because of that, I ended up doing radio for another station, and they offered me a job. So
Wow.
Because you were the singing bus driver.
Yeah.
Crazy stuff, right?
yeah,
But I always wanted to be in broadcasting from the time I was looking.
I
When
never
you
even
were a
thought of
voice.
radio.
I had my first tape recorder, that's what I did. It was a Lloyd's. I still have that Lloyd's tape recorder. Do you,
The brick cassette.
Yeah,
That's,
That's
I
what I
bought
did.
him one. That's what he does his interviews with. Everybody's
Really?
got the.
Famous
Yeah.
Canadian James Cameron claimed, he goes,
from Niagara Falls, by the way.
by the way, you're exactly right.
Yeah.
James Cameron picked up that tape recorder and he goes, where did you get this? You break the glass at the Smithsonian?
But that was my thing.
It's a great talking piece,
And
though.
so,
Those old
It
brick.
is,
I
I
love
mean-
those things you could just punch and record and have
You know
fun
what?
with them.
Jeff got me the last great. He found a 70s tape recorder.
In the
that's
box.
wow.
The same one I
Wow.
used in the 80s as a kid when I interviewed Ray Bradbury, my first school interview. But what's interesting is there's nothing like the audio quality on a tape.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
It's warm.
digital does not
Yeah.
come
It's
close.
warm.
You know?
Yeah, it's
It's
warm.
naturally warm.
Yeah. And to me, I still use tapes. I have to buy them online, but
You can
Yeah.
still buy those brick recorders on. They're all retro now.
I still
man.
have mine. I
That's
still have
cool.
it. Yeah.
Funny.
Right on.
And we used to do all kinds of productions and stuff
Oh,
like
yeah.
that. And
Radio
and then we got
Yeah.
two, so we thought we were doing stereo. So we had, but they don't sync. They actually
Yeah.
they move apart. But we would record like little skits and stuff and productions, and we
Yeah.
do that with both. That was what I was. And so the crazy thing about me is, again, I'll talk about it. And
There's
didn't-
only one
yeah.
crazy thing?
Well, about broadcasting. It was about vision, right? I always wanted to be that. And so what happened to me was crazy because it should never have happened. I come out of a lab, I'm working in a lab, I walk into a radio station and go, I got to do this. Because my dad was a chemist, right? And he's like, you got to be in chemistry, you can't go to broadcasting. So I was accepted to go to TV school. And so I walk into this radio station, and it was in Niagara Falls, but it was an anomaly because it was a top 40 radio station and talk, but it had massive numbers in Toronto. We had 16 or 17 lines out of Toronto. That's how big we were. So I walk into the station, I walk up to the front desk, and the girl goes, yes. I said, I'd like to be in radio. And she goes, did you go to school for radio? Do you have any experience? I said, well, no, I didn't go to school, and I don't have any experience, but I really want to do it. It's something in my heart. And she goes, we're a big station, and normally you'd go to school, and then you'd end up way up north in the Arctic, and you'd work your way down, and then maybe get a job at a station like this. Well, the owner was sitting around the corner, and he comes out and he goes, I like the way you sound. He goes, and he goes, I like your energy. He says, you want to be in radio? I said, oh man, I want to be in radio. He says, you want to be an operator? I said, what's an operator? Well, an operator back then was everybody who you did everything that this jockey did.
Oh, no,
But you
yeah.
pushed the button when they had to talk because it was all pre-recorded stuff. I said, I'm in. And I learned everything I possibly could about the business. I sucked it in. It was just amazing. 3 months later, I was in the production booth doing commercials. And a news director walks by and he goes, what are you doing? I said, I'm just practicing. He goes, well, who was that? I said, that was, he goes, that wasn't you. He goes, yeah, that was me. He says, you want to do news this weekend? Now, here's where you got to go out on the edge, right? You got to get uncomfortable.
Yeah,
okay?
you got to take the leap.
And I go, Mike, that's a great offer. And I want to be on the air more than anything. Of course, I'm thinking top 40 disc jockey, talk show. And he goes, you can do it. I said, I've never written news. I've never read news. I don't think I can do it. He goes, the assistant news director will write your newscast on the weekend. All you got to do is read it. So I started reading news. And then I'm the kind of guy that I can't sit and do the same thing all the time. And back then, we wrote 15-minute newscasts, okay? These weren't these little short clips, and they all had to be different. And we had to do cop checks. And when we came into the newsroom, there was teletype all over the floor at 2 o'clock in the morning. We'd have to rip stories and tape. You
Lot of
talk
work.
about tape?
All the paper.
Yeah. Yes.
And then rewrite them. Now,
Oh man,
I
that's
was-
work.
I was the jerk who thought typing was just for girls in high school. I should have taken it.
He still does this.
I'm a 3 and 2. 3 on the right.
I do
2
that too.
Yeah.
I do that too. And I usually have a chihuahua on my lap when I'm running.
Yeah. So then I learned, and from there I moved on and did every aspect of radio and broadcasting into television and production. But the best thing about news, which I never wanted to do, it taught me how to read. And so when I got on as a disc jockey, I was comfortable reading, and it didn't sound like I was reading. So
Well, you could edit your own copy too while
Yeah.
you're reading it, right?
yeah, exactly. Oh wait, we had to type it, and we had to type it out, and then of course, the funniest thing that ever happened to me is I was reading it was probably my 20th newscast, and the chair broke, and I fell down on the floor, and my newscast went flying. And the microphone is up here. And I'm going, oh my God, what am I going to do? And I ad-libbed. I couldn't believe what I remembered. As I was pulling the stuff together, I was ad-libbing news because I'd been there for like 8 hours anyway, so most of it was already in my head, but it was crazy. And back then, editing for actualities where you had voice clips, reel to reel. And you do cop checks. And you'd have to edit reel to reel, put it all together before you went in that booth. Yeah, so it was really cool. It was a great experience.
And then those little carts.
Then you put it on a cart after. Yeah.
No. Did you of the shows you did you ever interview David Cronenberg?
No.
William Fruitt, the Canadian filmmaker?
No, but we did accept an award for Cronenberg.
You did? Tell me about that.
Just recently. We were emceeing the first, it's called the Canadian Entertainment Hall of Fame. And it's just opening. And we accepted Cronenberg's award.
Yeah.
How cool is that?
Yeah, so it's funny you should ask that.
Yeah, that's bizarre.
Canadian filmmaker.
Yeah, very bizarre.
Boy, no. Did you cover like Land of the Dead? Did you ever interview George Romero when he lived in Canada?
No.
No.
Now, actually, if you look on the Facebook that Steve Joyner put up, the picture of us in the tux.
I saw that.
That's where we're accepted. That's where we're accepted.
It.
Yeah.
I was just picturing that in my head because I saw that picture. I was wondering what that was a nice stage, man. I like that.
That was in Niagara on the Lake.
Did you guys keep his award after that, or
we tried?
We tried. The security got us on the way out the door.
And I heard you guys are going to interview Joe Alves from Jaws. Is that true?
We are.
Yes.
He's amazing and a half. I mean,
we did a phone interview with him,
and I've done it in person. I did a book on the Jaws series, and Joe was the first guy I interviewed for it. He's a production designer.
Yeah.
Try to get him at his house.
Oh, that's where we're going.
That's where we're going.
Oh yeah, you're going to see everything.
The house is like a Jetsons house.
All those drawings and props and things.
And this guy would do the Rod Serling night galleries. He's designed.
Loved that.
Oh, he did the sets for those too?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah. And then Joe designed his own house. So when you get to this modular living room, you're going to be able to watch the entire valley of Tarzana. And he has squirrels running up and down the balcony all day. It's amazing to watch.
Wow.
Have him show you in the driveway where he shot the scene in Jaws where the shark is punching a hole in the boat.
Yeah.
His house was just being built. So they didn't have enough room at Universal. So he did a quick shot with a piece of the hull in the driveway, spraying his, the water gun through the holes, through the cracks in the hull when the shark is slamming into the boat when they're all getting drunk.
Yeah.
And I mean, when you look at his stuff, he was like 16 or 17 years old working on, he helped do the invisible creature for Forbidden Planet.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, this guy has worked with everybody. He knows everybody. His Rod Serling stories alone.
Yeah.
Starting before he's even 21. I mean, that's amazing.
crazy.
I talked to him on the phone twice, and it was just intriguing and amazing just to talk to him on the phone. I loved it.
His Close Encounters of the Third Kind stories are great.
Love that movie.
And I mean, talk to him about, he discovered Leia Thompson for Jaws 3D. I mean, give him enough time that you have enough time to cover everything. And look over his IMDb because he's done a hell of a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And he's an incredibly nice guy. Other questions I wanted to have. How can people contact you or follow you on
We're coming to the closing of our show.
Yeah, so
We
you can
started a
feel it.
little late, but
Yeah.
We went a little longer.
We
'cause you guys
talk.
are
Well,
great.
we were late, but you know what? I'll tell you, that traffic was a whole lot worse than we thought. And then, of course, GPS took us for a little ride. So,
sometimes you can't. Even our engineer.
I live in Rancho. I had to take side streets to the freeway because you could have.
All the crazy,
Yeah.
the chemical
Factory,
fire over at the
chemical fire,
recycling
yeah.
plant is still burning.
Yeah.
Yeah, it keeps telling you to take a Yui, and you're like, what?
Where's the
Yeah, exactly.
so the easiest way, and it's Pete and Reed. It's the Pete and Reed Show, and it's both on radio and television, our YouTube station. But it's PEET REET. So if you search
With the
Pete,
and in the middle.
yeah, with an N. It's,
Not an ampersand.
well, there is an ampersand, but
Yeah.
not for when you go on the internet. So if you do that, you search it, you'll find us all over the place. And then we're at what is it? PeteandReed.com, right?
Yep.
Yeah, PeteandReed.com. So you can find us there.
Well, you've reminded me why I love Canadians so much. You're incredibly enjoyable, joyous
Well,
people.
thank
Emma.
you.
Thank you very much.
You are
I
as
feel
well.
like we've only been here 15 minutes and we're just
I
getting
know.
started. Things
Well,
start.
it does
Okay,
feel
let's-
like that.
Let's
yeah.
bring out the dirt now.
Oh, you didn't bring a friggin' Cadbury bar, you miserable.
She ate it.
And by the way,
I did.
Oh, shit. You actually like the other candy bar over Cadbury's?
Which
The one the big one.
Big Turk?
Yeah.
I don't personally, but Jim likes it.
He's nuts.
And
It's
he
gotta
likes
be-
Crispy Crunch because you can't.
Crispy Crunch is really good.
Because you can't.
Sponge toffee.
Your
Sponge toffee.
Your version of it is Mr. Butterfinger or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
not
yeah,
the
yeah.
same. It's not
But
the
you
same.
know what? I can't believe you would turn your back on a Cadbury bar. There was nothing like the salt and vinegar chips in Canada.
Oh yeah,
Even now.
Hostess.
Yeah,
Salt
the,
and vinegar,
the
yeah.
American ones don't come close.
Yeah.
No, our
They were-
big thing was ketchup chips.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You know, you'd lick the ketchup salt off, and your tongue would end up being so sore from all the salt.
Well, the craziest thing about her and I is we both had ketchup sandwiches when we were young.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
No,
Or
was
mustard.
that-
Or mustard.
Was that because you were eccentric or broke?
Broke. Yeah. But I love
was
ketchup.
good.
Now to this day, I will still.
We do this. This is so bad. You know those little packets of ketchup you get at
Yeah.
whatever? We'll squeeze them in our mouth and eat the whole thing.
So you
We don't
guys,
need to put it on anything at all. Just eat it.
No, my dad grew up poor, and one of the things he was an engineer and all this. When there was somebody else equally poor they would compare poverty. Would you guys do that? The two of you compare your broke status?
No, we just talk about things we
About?
did.
I love you.
I say about, but she says about.
I choose mustard over ketchup.
The farther you get away from the border,
Mustard
the more
sandwich
about
is
it comes, right?
awesome.
I love the build, I love the ood, and I love the mums.
Mom.
Have we made the trade? Because that's what we're here for.
Yeah.
Trump for Trudeau. Trump for Trudeau.
Yeah, Trump for Trudeau. Sorry.
As long as you tell me if you like Alpha Flight over Wolverine.
Yeah.
Would you rather
Alpha
have?
Flight is the first Canadian superhero group, and if you look at the old X-Men reprints, because John Byrne was Canadian,
Yeah.
he would always draw Pierre Trudeau calling an Alpha Flight or Wolverine.
At least Pierre had a little bit of class.
Yeah, but he sunk the country into
Yeah, he
huge
did.
debt, and that's what his son has done.
And plus, his wife banged the Rolling Stones.
Oh.
When it meant something.
And would you take a buffalo nickel over a Canadian dime?
Yeah.
Yeah, just because it's different.
Yeah.
What is a loony? Explain to Jeff what
A loony?
is. Yeah.
It's a
crazy
dollar.
person.
It's a dollar. It's a coin, and it's one color, but it's got a loon bird, which is a bird that is in our country, on one side. So we call it a loony.
Yeah.
What
And then
is-
the toonie.
And a toonie
Oh,
is
yeah.
two pieces. It's silver and like a bronze color in the middle. So it's two pieces. It's a toonie.
And that's $2. And out east, they call it a tony.
A toonie.
Why does the Queen look so goofy on your money?
Because
That's
she's
the way
an
she
ugly
really
woman.
You're exactly right.
We're not into the monarchy, I'll tell you that.
Well, we want to thank you for being on the Jeff and Janky show.
Wait, hold on.
And it's like being
No,
on your
hold on,
show.
hold on.
Absolutely.
It's such a
Do you
crossover.
acknowledge the champ? Does champ exist?
Yes.
Okay, so you believe in the living existence of champ.
Yeah.
Okay, the Canadian sea moms. Okay. Bigfoot.
I don't.
What? You have to be contrarian.
Listen, we've run across Sasquatch in the north one night when we were up there in a cottage. It was.
By the way, you just
We're
buried the
coming there.
freaking lead.
I got another. I could go for another 2 hours on
2 more minutes on
Sasquatch.
Bigfoot. All right, give us your Bigfoot story. We have to hear this.
Okay, we're sitting in this cottage, my friend. It's actually the best man, and it was up in Perry Sound. And in the middle of the night, there was this thud, and I'm talking, it shook the cottage. Okay, so I got up immediately. My best man got up, and his brother-in-law, who happened to be the second command of TD Bank, which is in America, right? He just stepped down from there, but he's like, oh my God, what was she? He's hiding. Guys, could you go outside? Could you go outside? And like the building shook, and then you could hear like boof, 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 like just like a movie, right? Now you're in minus 40 degrees out in the middle of nowhere, so it's not somebody playing games, and we're all inside. So it goes away, and I finally go out to look over the balcony, and there is this massive, I don't know what it was, hunched over on the next balcony in the next cottage. And it was huge, and we all saw it.
Wow.
That is good. When we go out the parking lot, I've got a dashboard Bigfoot with them.
Yeah. You want me to see if it's similar?
Yes.
Okay.
I go to sleep every night watching different Bigfoot videos. I like the audio one from Mike. Have you heard the one Mike from Ontario,
No,
Canada?
no.
Where he's befriended and they go from a distance and recorded him audio, and he you listen to him talk. I'll shoot you that link.
All right.
man.
Wait, did
Perfect.
you go back to bed after that? How could you?
No,
after
we
shooting-
didn't. We just cracked some beers like Canadians. do.
Yeah, no
Put our skates
A
on.
big moose head, eh?
No, but once you saw that, I can't imagine going back to sleep.
It was actually scary. It really, really was.
Sure, would
Man,
be.
I mean, I want to. That's something I want.
But when you're in the
experience.
middle of nowhere, and I mean, it's so black. If you don't have lights on, you can't see. Your
See,
eyes never
yeah.
adjust.
So
Okay.
you're not going to drive out of there.
No, and you're not going to call the police. You're going to deal with what's going on there
Yeah,
at the time.
you have to. The police would take a half an hour,
There's
an hour to
different
get
tribes
there.
of Bigfoot. There's their aggressive ones, just like you got your blacks, your browns, your reddies.
Wait. Oh,
This was dark. This was a dark colored one, and then we hoped to see the tracks next day, but it snowed so much that there was nothing. We couldn't see anything.
No,
Yeah.
but no, did it ever come back?
no, no.
I want to put him as like a gift tree and just put Janki out there and see what the interaction.
And all I can tell you is that when you were doing Bigfoot on top of a Colorado mountain,
Yeah.
you know, and my mom wasn't around by that point, so she wasn't worried about anyone shooting me in an ape costume in the middle of Colorado.
I
hunting
think if you encountered a female, but she'd probably throw you over her shoulder and just take you away, man.
I'm up for it.
Yeah.
All
Hey
right.
guys, you were
To be
fantastic.
continued, right?
Yeah. Hey,
Yeah.
Pete and Wheat, you guys are invited back anytime.
Love
Thank
to
you.
come.
And
Thank
we know
you
where
so
we're
much.
going to come and spend the night when we go to Canadian.
Yeah. Canada. eh?
To Canada.
Canada.
Hey, do either of you ever do Boblo Island? It was closer to Canada.
No.
It
No.
was a Michigan amusement park.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
No.
It was back then. It was like 5-6 hours to get down there. So
Yeah, we're
Okay.
lazy.
it's changed now. It's quicker now.
Your honesty, Canadian, grabs me.
Guys, thank you
Hey,
so
we
much.
love you both.
Thank you. Until next time on the Jeff and Janki Show.
Doing a great job over there.
No problem.
Oh yes, well, thank you so much. Wow, guys, thank you so very much.
Right.
Yeah, no
All right,
problem.
photo session time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we gotta go.
We're gonna need you in front of our